I had an accident with my wife and found out that she cheated on me when she was in hospital. I have no one to talk to about this. I don't know if I need advice, support or something else. I'm going crazy trying to cope with it. Life has driven me into a dead end and I'm fighting not to lose myself, but at the same time, I doubt what is right in general in terms of actions, words, and thoughts. I will start by writing this message from the hospital room yesterday around 7:30 in the morning. My wife and I had an accident. I escaped with only cuts and bruises. My wife Maria has a shattered shoulder, a broken collarbone, 3 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Doctors expect that she will fully recover, but while she is kept in a medically induced coma, writing this from the phone is a difficult task. But now I have time. I wouldn't write if everything was perfect in our marriage. It's obvious, but I could never even to imagine that my wife is capable of infidelity. My heart is broken. I feel incomplete, as if I have lost a part. And the saddest thing is that this part is only a meter away from me. For the last 3 months I felt that we are moving away from each other, but I could not find a reason. We are both 34 years old. Marie and I have known each other since childhood. We started dating back in college and continuing throughout college. She's the only woman I'm with. Ever had sex until recently. She could say the same thing. We got married a year after graduation college and a year later we had our first child Michael. 3 years later our daughter Carrie. I love my children are more alive. If it wasn't for them I'm not sure I would be here now. Thank God, at the time of the accident with us, not. I had children. They spent the night at my parents' place. We were going to fly to Florida for a cruise but my wife decided to go the night before. Go for a walk with my best friend. Although I asked her to come home and not drive in the snow, she swore that she was with her friend. Rebecca will just drink a couple of glasses since they won't see each other for a week. I went to bed and slept like a baby until 5 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, looked out the window and saw that my wife's car was gone, and there was even more snow. I thought that Marie and Rebecca we had a little too much and my wife stayed the night at her place. I got dressed, got into my SUV. Before I left, I sent a message to Marie not to get behind the wheel. There was too much snow, and I was going to pick her up. The message remained unread. I couldn't count how many times I asked myself the question, what would have happened if she had read this post? I would still be living in a lie. I would still have that bad feeling, but I wouldn't end up in that absolute nightmare I am in now. I arrived at Rebecca's and stopped in front of her house, checked the message. I hoped that Maria would read it and be ready when I arrived, but I resigned myself to the fact that I would have to go in and wake her up. The front door was unlocked, so I walked in and looked towards the living room. On the couch no one was there. Rebecca's bedroom was on the first floor and I didn't want to wake her up, so I went up the stairs too. I remember walking into the room and seeing 2 faces peeking out from under the blanket. I remember bending down and pulling the blanket towards me. I remember seeing my wife lying with her head on the bare chest of some guy. The next thing I remember is like Rebecca, Marie and some half-naked guy that I never see me trying to drag me away from her lover. Now I would probably be in prison if they hadn't done it, but I honestly don't remember anything, so it's right or not I don't experience. Especially sorry about this. When I came to my senses, that half-naked guy said that he would take his friend to hospital. Marie sobbed. Rebecca and I yelled at each other. I told her and my wife that leaving and gave Marie 5 minutes to be in my car or not try to go home. She was there in 3 minutes. To drive in this condition in the snow is not the best idea, even on a 4-wheel drive car. Suddenly another car drove out into our lane and we were carried over the fence. This was the reason for Maria's injuries. The car overturned. Glory God forbid the airbags went off. We survived. The children don't even know that we had an accident and I probably didn't call anyone. I should have done it, but it's not just about the accident. My life has collapsed and I'm trying to assess the scale of the destruction. Before involving others in this, I seem to be numb, but at the same time I am in hellish pain, and not because of the accident to me. I don't think I know the person that's lying in this hospital bed next to me. I want to ask her 1,000 questions. But to be honest, I don't want to know a single answer. Obviously she doesn't love me anymore, not a single person who has a soul doesn't. Will cheat on the person she loves, so I have to wonder if she ever loved me and if she wanted to love again, if I would want it after what she did. I don't know exactly when she started. Cheat, but for me, the marriage ended the moment she did it, the vows were broken, she buried our marriage and we are no longer husband and wife. I need a lawyer to annul our union, because she has already done it, so I no longer connected by the commitments that a huge part of me wants to just get out of this room. I want to call her parents to tell them what she did and what happened and then tell them to deal with her now. We swore to be together for better and for worse, and that's what I meant, but we no longer married. Part of me wants to leave her a note and say, alas, grief happened after she ruined our relationship. The only thing that keeps me in this damn room is the children. I want to see them so much right now, but I have scratches on my face and neck. If they see me, they will immediately understand that something has happened, as if I did not felt that my wife had defiled herself and our family. My children needed her. I thought I had a partner for life, and no matter how horrible she seemed, kids need a mother. Would have conversations that I couldn't have, and I won't know where to start. There will be traumas that need kisses, and not just words. My father will endure, but I won't be able to replace. Mother, please someone help me. How can I sit here and look at the one who stabbed me so hard? Should I call her parents to come and tell them? I really don't want to be here. Especially with her parents. If I don't tell them what she did, they'll still understand that I'm angry, that for the sake of all that is holy, I'll say. My children, yes, I can say that we had an accident, but I don't know how to hide emotions my wife seems to be doing it with. But when I hate a person, it is immediately visible on my face. The children will understand that I am angry with their mother, like the hell I am. Get to such a life. I already know that I need to go to a lawyer. I understand this, but how do I deal with this? So, right now I propose to answer all the questions posed. What do you propose? Do the author. And now let's move on to the continuation of the update. First, after of the first post that day, I decided to stay one more night in the hospital room of the Sitaroma Marie off light. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling, listening to the medical equipment. I lay there and thought, like the hell my life came to this point. I partially felt that I was showing undeserved mercy just by being alone room with her, and partly I still loved her. I didn't want to feel this love. I felt that I was weak once. At least some positive feelings for her. I realized again and again that it is impossible to return everything to the way it was. It was like a natural disaster, having destroyed the whole quiet life that we were building. I cried a hell of a lot. I realized that a huge part of my life was over, and this moment was of great importance to me. When the next morning the nurse came in to get the blood, I left the room. When Marie woke up and saw me walking towards the exit, she called me. But I pretended I hadn't heard her. I went to breakfast. I hadn't had much appetite since I found out. I was trying to pass the time, barely eating and looking at my phone. There was a message from Rebecca asking where Marie was, which I was. I didn't read at 7 a.m. I decided it was time to knock on her parents' door. Her father always got up early. I got up. I planned to talk to him first, and if he decided that his wife should hear it, he would wake her up. I saw smoke rising from the wood stove in his workshop in the backyard, so knocked on the door before he entered. Saw scratches on my neck and a bruise on my cheek. I explained that there was an accident. Marie was hurt more, but we need to talk. I think he thought it was about an accident, so I woke up my mother-in-law so that she could hear what I wanted to say. We sat down in the kitchen and I explained that at the turn the car from the oncoming lane drove into ours, thanks to the fact that there was a heavier car and four-wheel drive. I managed to stay on the road until we crashed into railing. The door on the passenger side caught one of the vertical beams installed in the concrete. Despite airbags, Marie hit hard. She got a lot of injuries, but I said she was stable condition and the doctors are expecting a full recovery. They both cried upon learning that their daughter was injured but will still be with them, and they will be able to continue to love her as soon as they hinted that they were ready to help me in everything to take care of Marie. I left them and explained that the accident was not what I came to them for. They looked puzzled when I told you how I woke up that morning, sent a message, and went out into the snow to make sure my wife was okay. I told them how I walked in and saw their daughter with some guy I didn't know, and how unconsciously beating him over and over again. They were both in shock. Then I told them in which room they are in the hospital and explained that everything always wanted them to be part of our children's lives. Therefore, I hope they can maintain a friendly relationship with me. I told them that at the moment my father is looking after the children, but with their daughter I am divorcing as she broke our vows and is no longer my wife, and I went away from them home to my father to tell the children about the accident. I was also going to tell them that my mother and I were no longer together, but I didn't. Was going to say that their mother was a cheater. I told my former relatives that although it hurts me that it was over. That's right, I can at least say that it wasn't me who ruined our marriage and my life. Don't be in such a hurry that she made a mistake and began to sprinkle the usual excuses. I just smiled and said that it had been a pleasure to have them as relatives all these years, and then went out. When I came to my father, of course, I had a lot to share. I went into the kitchen where my father was drinking coffee. All that he knew I was supposed to be on a cruise ship in the Caribbean. He stood up and asked what I was doing here. I was just hugged him and burst into tears like a child. It was a case when he really wanted to know what was happening, but felt that first you need to let me cry. He took me to the living room and sat me on the couch, and he went after my mother. We both insisted that she drink a cup of coffee first, but she had already realized that if I was alone here so early, then something had happened. First I told her how Maria had changed, how I had caught her and left Rebecca. Then I explained that there had been an accident and that she was quite serious. I told them about Marie's injuries and that only an hour ago I had told her parents so that they could do it. Mom finally asked what I was going to do now. They both cried when I said that the only option left for me is to divorce Marie and be the best father I can for. As our conversation was coming to an end, I heard my daughter Carrie scream. Dad screamed, and ran down the stairs. This woke up my son, who also joined us a couple of minutes later. I hadn't seen them for so long that just spending time hugging them and rejoicing to meet them, it took them a while to notice mine scratches. I told them about the accident and that their mother was in the hospital, but she would be fine. I said her parents would pick her up so they could visit my mother, and that was it. I spent the day playing, talking, hugging, dozing, and laughing with my children, and they were the ones who made me want to live again. Until that moment, to be honest, I had 50-50 in terms of do I want to live at all, but children are really worth living for them, protecting and loving. Their phone wife was destroyed in an accident, so no one received any answers from her. A few days in the evening I began to receive messages from my mother-in-law's phone and realized that they were from Maria. I ignored them. They continued to come from time to time during the night, but I turned off notifications. The next day I spoke with 3 law firms regarding filing for divorce. I can't say that I want or even need an official divorce, but it will allow to divide the property and resolve the issue of custody of the children. What and with whom she does not bother me anymore. Met with 2 lawyers and I liked the second one much more. I will meet with the third one, who is considered to be best, to understand if he can surprise me. If not, I will go with the leading lawyer of the second firm. In any case, I excluded the 3 best lawyers from the list of possible candidates for her, and this is already victory in my eyes. Guardianship is mine main goal. I do not claim full custody and would not even want it if I could get it. The children need a mother, but because of what she did, she will never be able to be a part of my life again. Someone else will be driving and picking up children on their deeds. There is not a single reason in this world why I should talk to her at least once more. I obviously never. I didn't really know her, so why should I continue to communicate with a stranger? Next week I'm going back to work. After what should have been our cruise at work, I didn't tell anyone that we didn't go anywhere and nothing at all. Did not mention the accident. Of course they will see that I am driving a rented car and will ask if I bought a new one. I'm not sure if I need to explain, remove something, but I definitely don't want my personal affairs to become the property of everyone. I already have enough humiliation to discuss it at work. Divorce is sometimes necessary, however, it is always symbolizes failure. However, I am no longer going to be an anchor for a ship that has already sunk, and for those who rightly advised to be tested for STDs, I underwent a full examination and the results on all points were negative. Thank goodness. Even that made me feel like some kind of pervert, although I didn't do anything bad. I think that by this time Marie had already been discharged from the hospital. Her parents did not even try to bring her home. They wouldn't be able to contact me because of Marie's constant messages that I didn't read. Once I can file divorce documents and hand them over to her, I will be able to complete this main mistake of my life. Her act appreciated at that time that we spent together. If I had the opportunity to live it all over again, would no longer make this choice. I would preferred living with anyone else who would actually be faithful and devoted to her greatest dignity. Ability to be reliable was thrown out by herself. I will yearn for the time when I could call someone my family. But now I know that it was all a lie and I didn't mean anything to her. People tend to admire beautiful lies and turn away from ugly truths. I'm not one of those. Many wanted to know dirty details, with whom my wife cheated on me, why and how long it lasted. Sorry, but I don't have this information, and to be honest, I don't want to know it. Except for the situation when you literally put a gun to your head, there are no excuses. Change when you create a marriage bond and promise to keep it, and then decide that some other left-wing person. I wish I had never met her and chose someone else. Anybody. She had no right. Give me a life, and then take it all away from me, against my will. The person I was before her betrayal, no longer. There is a woman who used to be. She didn't exist at all. And the life I had was just a facade in ruins that no one wants to live update. The second I don't know where to start. Probably the first thing I need to tell you is that I managed to find a very good lawyer. Her firm has the highest rating for representing the interests of men in divorce proceedings. Instead of transferring my case to someone from, she took it upon herself. All the firm were kind and supported me. I feel that they don't just want to get fee. Nadia, my lawyer, does everything possible to help me maintain well-being and peace of mind. After as she agreed to take the case, we filled out standard forms. I indicated what property I had and information on all bank accounts, as well as rough estimates of how much Marie and I earn. After how I told about the accident and what I saw in front of her, she asked if I had been tested for STDs. I replied that yes. Nothing was found. Then she asked to do so. She called a private investigator with which her company works for and made an appointment for the next day. I live in a state where infidelity is considered a basis for. So even though I knew Marie was unfaithful, I needed proof for the divorce to go through. My benefit, we agreed that one of the employees of her company would be an intermediary between me and Maria's father for communication and organizing meetings with the children. Her assistant informed my father-in-law in advance that my ex could take the children to the coming weekend and the following week. Nadia then asked if I had organized psychotherapy for myself and the children. I explained that I had my first appointment with a psychotherapist for this week, but since the children were not yet aware, I have postponed this issue with them for the time being. She said that as soon as I feel that the children need professional help, I must inform her and she will recommend some good specialists. She expressed, in my opinion, sincere condolences for what I've been through and what's yet to come. Usually I don't like lawyers, but I think this time I found one with a soul. She gave me a list of things that need to be collected and done before our next one. Meetings. Many of these instructions coincided with the advice I had seen online, so when she said what was needed, go to the pharmacy and buy 2 DNA tests, I did not pay attention to this. I knew that this was a standard procedure when in the evening I returned home with the children. I did mouth swabs for me and for them, sealed everything and sent it to the Burrs by mail after. As I took the children to school the next morning, 2 days later, Friday came and I took the children to their grandfather for the weekend morning. I went to work and was just returning from lunch, when I received an email notification. I saw 2 letters from laboratory and decided to wait until I got to the computer to view them. At my desk I opened First email and clicked on the link. The results showed that my son Michael is indeed my son. I opened the second. I clicked on the link, read what was written there, read it and again, then I couldn't say anything, just shook my head. I realized that I needed to get out of the office as quickly as possible. Before I lost my temper, I got in the car and began to cry when the realization that my daughter Carrie, it turned out not to be my daughter, completely absorbed me. I think that even losing my arm would have hurt me less than losing my daughter. To be honest, it felt like my soul had been taken away. I didn't know who to call. I just sat there crying and praying that this nightmare would end. I downloaded the files from the mail and sent them to my lawyer. After 20 seconds, Nadia called and asked where I was. I could only answer at work, she said, so that I would stay where I was and someone from her team would come for me in a few minutes. I ended the call and opened the car door and I began to vomit uncontrollably until I just began to choke. The vomiting stopped, but my head was still spinning. At that moment one of the assistants of the law firm had just arrived to pick me up, took me to the company, and as soon as Nadia finished with the client, I was immediately taken to her office. The first thing she said was, "It's that sometimes tests can be wrong." She said she understands how upset I am and what I have on. It's perfectly right, but strongly recommended that Carrie be retested at a local lab to guarantee that there were no possible mistakes. I could not believe what was happening even after I found Marin cheating. I thought DNA tests for children were just a formality. I would never have thought that my wife could be. But if you imagine that she could get pregnant from another man, then take this woman on, whom I married. Even if I wanted to, I could not stand up to Marie now, 'cause I had no proof. And yet, if the results confirm what we almost knew, I don't know how we'll be able to talk about it. One of the employees of the company measured my blood pressure to make sure that I was normal. It was elevated and I felt that I was on the verge of a panic attack. I thought what would happen next. It was difficult for me to come to terms with the idea that the girl may never have been mine. At that moment I was glad that the children stayed with their mother. I began to think, what if both tests are wrong and Carrie is still my daughter and Michael is no? I knew I couldn't wait another 2 days to find out the truth, so I agreed with the intermediary that he would pick up Carrie for a few hours the next day and will take her back to Marie's parents. We tested in a sterile environment in the presence of professional medics. There was no mistake. I am not Carrie's father. The results came a day later, when she was already with. After that, I cried even harder and was glad that Carrie didn't see it. I sent the results to my lawyer and she called to see how I was feeling. She highly recommended to ask for support from my family and not try to cope alone. I got into the car and drove to my father, crying all the way. When I arrived and saw my mother, she realized that something was wrong, but she could not get out of me that it was the end. I could squeeze out only Carrie, not my daughter. Mom asked what, but she already knew that. Heard everything correctly and I was unable to repeat. After about 30 seconds of silence filled only with mine uncontrollable sobs, she got up, took the phone and called my father. I told him to hurry home, but be cautious because I have bad news. I felt that my father would have wanted a hint of what could have been so terrible, but she only asked him to be careful and come as soon as possible. He came back 20 minutes later and we cried together for a long time. I comforted my father, he comforted my mother, they comforted me, but garlic for none of us had any consolation. They asked about Michael, of course, and I assured them that he indeed, my son was. Both relieved and then felt guilty that they were happy to lose only one grandson. They asked me what I was going to do. I said I didn't know. The only thing I was sure of moment is that Carrie will never be in need of anything. I wasn't worried about possible alimony for child at that moment. I just knew that she would be safe, no matter how terrible I felt about this situation. I was even more offended for Carrie, who was absolutely not to blame for this. Do I want to get custody of her? Will I be able to get custody of Carrie if I wanted? I began to wonder if Maria knew about it or suspected me suddenly. Needed answers to all these damn questions. On Monday after work I met with Nadia and she said that Was already hired by a private detective to spy on Marie because of the accident, she no longer left the house to cheat on Tuck. That I was not surprised that there was no fresh evidence, but Nadia asked me to bring an old phone. Marie, who was lying in a drawer at home, and the detective, was able to access almost all the applications as if it were hers. Destroyed phone. He found many nude photos sent and received from different men, countless. A message and sexting with confessions of guilt that would be enough to convince any judge. I was asked if I wanted to see photos or read the messages, but Nadia and I needed to discuss how I was going to talk to Marie and Carrie. Nadia offered to do it in her office, if she could convince Marie to come. She called her mother's phone. Marie, right in front of me. I heard Marie's voice for the first time since I left the hospital. Nadia immediately got down to business and said that Marie needs to meet with me to explain herself. My ex said she was waiting for this conversation and wanted to talk to her. Asked if she had a lawyer. Maria replied that she did not have a lawyer, but she was ready to come the next day for. I barely managed to live to see this day. I did not burst into tears. Sit away from the door and couldn't come up to me. I was looking at photos of our ideal family who never existed when she came in. It was hard for her to walk and she still had 2 casts on her after the accident. I didn't have to. I thought she might be pretending to make me feel sorry, but we really had a serious accident. I just wanted her to sit down and explain as soon as we were all seated. We were offered water and the meeting began. My lawyer began by asking if Marie would mind if we were record the meeting. She didn't mind. As soon as we started recording, my wife tried to apologize. I abruptly interrupted her and directly asked how many men she cheated on me, and when it started there was enough confirmation from a private detective to know that the guy I found was far from the first. Of course, she didn't know that we were known, and apparently to reduce the severity of what happened before the accident, her plan was to confess only in what she thought we knew. I asked her again about how many men she had slept with since then. When our son was born, the provision for a specific time period gave her a moment to think, but she continued. Pretend not to understand. At that moment she still thought it was a game and I was starting to lose patience. Nadia put hand on my shoulder and gently pushed me away from the table. She looked at Marie and asked if I was a good father to Marie here. She gave me an excellent characterization, saying that she could not wish for a better father to bring up her children. I wanted get up and turn over the table when she said her children. Then Nadia asked if the other father of her child would be too good dad. While Marie was asking what other father she was talking about, my lawyer gave her the test results for Carrie's paternity. No matter how much I hate what my life has been in since I found out about her infidelity, I need. She was clearly shocked that Carrie wasn't mine daughter. She tried to put pressure on me with the words, after all, you were her father, you raised her, and I had to stop it. I asked her who Carrie's father was. She looked down with a hint of shame, and I thought she is trying to protect someone, but when she said she didn't know for sure who Marie's father saw me really break down, and I cried for the first time. I couldn't take it anymore and lost my temper. Marie cried, but asked for an attempt to explain myself. She reminded me about the postpartum depression that she went through after the birth of Michael. At that time I tried to be as understanding as possible. I can say with confidence that I spent every possible moment taking care of our son, so that she could have time for herself. There were days when she was so depressed that she couldn't even get up with bed and took care of all of us, but I enjoyed it all. I loved to do it for the family I had. Alas, I was so naive that I thought that after overcoming this, our marriage would become stronger, but there is no Marie. I didn't blame Rebecca for it at all. When she first persuaded her to have a girls' party, I was more pleased than indignant. They were best friends for many years, but almost did not see each other during pregnancy. Marie said that at the second such party, she got very drunk and let some guy paw her while she was making him feel well for some time, for several months, but then she began to feel resentment that she was not allowed to be young and free to be with whomever she wanted. She said that she started dating men all the evenings when she walked with Rebecca. Until the night before our accident she never even came home late. She claimed she didn't want to experience Feelings for none of these men, she claimed that she had always used protection and had never slept with the same. She was a guy more than 3 times, according to her, she just needed inti. I was stunned that your wife is a dirty liar and, it's really confusing. It's like suddenly realize that your whole life is a reality TV show that you didn't sign up for. I wanted to yell at her, but I was too. Nadia is busy thinking about how many men she cheated on me with these years. Asked her if she had any idea who could be Carrie's father, and Marie swore that she had always believed that it was me, my lawyer, who suggested that something had happened. Perhaps the contraceptive had broken when my wife confessed that it had happened several times to different men. I lost my temper. I asked her who the hell was she. Take this one, because I didn't know the person who told me this, as if she were talking about some trifle. I asked when she started to hate me and why. What did I do to deserve such an attitude? How could she do this to her daughter? I shouted furiously. She was silent, accepting it, knowing that it was all true. After what she had just said, and after I had expressed my feelings about her, the divorce was a foregone conclusion. Our marriage turned into scorched earth. The only thing left to do was to count the number of victims. I lost my wife and daughter. These are already 2 victims. The wife lost her husband, it is the 3rd daughter who lost her father, and the brother lost his sister, who turned out to be half a stranger, and then there are grandmothers, grandfathers, relatives of Marie. In fact, destroyed 2 families. Her parents will definitely not be able to accept what she did. I swear to all saints that I will show them everything. Evidence collected by a private detective. She admitted that she had met men through an app for dating with Rebecca and using a bridal shower to cheat. She claimed that she never wanted to hurt me. She swore she didn't know that Carrie wasn't my daughter. I even believe her, but DNA doesn't lie. I asked, why didn't she just divorce me? She honestly replied that she didn't want to lose the security I provided her. She cried. All this was said through tears, but I know that my expression was utter contempt. I was sick of the person who sat across from me. I felt used, humiliated, dishonored. I felt broken. I'm pretty sure that one of the reasons she came to meet me without a lawyer was because I owned everything. Property. She has nothing to lose except for a small retirement account. My assets are the inheritance that I received when I was 14 years old from my grandfather on my mother's side. The woman I call my mother is not my biological mother. My birth mother died when I was 2 years old from a rare form of cancer that progressed rapidly. My father married mine. My current mother, when I was 4 years old, I always knew that she was not my biological mother and that I was not her own son. Later I found out that she could not have children, and raising me helped her survive this sad fact. When the father of my biological mother and her inheritance passed to me, but I could not touch it until I was 21 years old. I studied well and entered the university, but I don't have to work. My wife knows that I will erase her in a divorce powder and know half of it. It can't see how its ears are. It has a job, and although it can't work yet due to injuries, she has a part of me wants to punish her and the other part wants to just end it. Marie was clearly on painkillers. Maybe that's why she was so frank, but her words literally pierced me. I made them even more painfully. I asked if she felt at least a little shame. She claimed something. Yes, I asked how the hell we're going to find out who Carrie's father really is. The wife started hers. The usual monologue about how I already knew who her father was, and I was not in the mood for any philosophical reasoning about what it means to be a father. Carrie's real father deserves to know about her, and she needs to know about him, at least for medical reasons. The evidence that the private investigator found did not cover the time before Carrie was born. Asked Marie if she could find any of these men. Maybe she had saved them. She had the audacity to say that she deliberately deleted their numbers so that I would never see them again. Lord, why didn't I notice this one in her before? To be clear, I told her that maybe I should have kept at least one number to tell him what he had will be a child or that she has contracted some disease. I want my name removed from the certificate of Carrie's birth. DNA proved that she is her mother's child, but not mine. As I said before, I will support her financially. Of her own free will, even after she turns 18, she will not need anything as far as my son and custody. To be honest, I don't know what to do before the paternity test. I plan to seek an agreement on to which my ex-wife would receive custody one weekend a month on certain holidays about 9 to 10. Now that Carrie isn't my daughter, I don't feel like it's right to seek custody of her, even if I could get it. Since Michael is still her brother, even if she takes half of her brother from the child, it also seems like an idea. I don't want any of them to suffer. I haven't seen Carrie since I found out the test results and I can't afford her. See me torn over this. God knows how much her psychotherapy will cost, but I'll pay for it. I don't know if her real father will be able to afford to pay for these services by studying with me alone. A therapist may be earning a whole house by the sea. When I drove home after a meeting, a huge part of me just wanted to end it all. It seemed like the best thing to do for everyone but me. Both could continue to live pretending to be paternity. My ex could openly act like spending my grandfather's money, and the children would not have faced the consequences of divorce and broken relationships. But by the time I got home, I said to myself, Nadia is preparing divorce papers and legal papers. Having me removed from Carrie's birth certificate would delay the lawsuit, but I don't want any legal grounds that could force me to interact, pay or deal with someone else's child. Physical team is also looking for ways to find Carrie's real father. Many genealogy sites offer to find out potential relatives. Even if the results do not indicate a specific person, they may point to a brother, cousin, or other. Whoever it may be, it may not be ready to accept this child whose existence it did not know existed. It may cause him to worry, but I doubt that his anxiety will come close to the horror I felt when I lost my daughter forever because she never existed. Everything is so confused now, nothing is unstable, chaos has become daily burden. The children return home Sunday afternoon. Never before I wanted not to see them. I know what will happen. A lot of unavoidable things I'm not ready for. When she sees me and wants to hug her dad, I don't even know how will react to her and burst into tears, knowing that she was never truly mine, tell her that I am not the one she is looking for. I just don't have the strength to be cruel to her, but my heart is really broken, as if there is no one I could to take out his pain, even on Maria, because nothing but murder can balance the scale of betrayal. That she has made these scales will never be balanced. She deserves to burn in hell for her promiscuous and deceitful actions. I am ruined and everything I loved is also ruined. I will win this divorce. Nadia and her team will make the most unfair division of property in the history of divorce, but Marie destroyed or devalued. Damn it, I have a son whom she will try to use against me and manipulate. Some humans are so horrible that they deserve to be treated like animals. I made a stupid mistake by getting involved with such a person, but now I know that I am not the only one who entered. Stupid update: the third reunion on Sunday at 1500 hours of the intermediary from law firm wrote to me that she had taken the children with their belongings and was already on her way to the house. I doubt that she will ever. Story was a message that someone would fear as much as I did. What made it most tragic was that just a few weeks ago, I would have smiled impatiently, waiting for it, and now the meeting I would be waiting for with I became something that made me shake. I had no plans to talk to the children about divorce, about paternity, or about any other problems. No matter how much I prepared, I realized that I was not in a position to raise these theme. My goal was to make it look like the normal days when they stayed with their grandparents while Marie and I was on vacation, but I knew that the reality would be very different and I had little control over it. Jessica, in turn, from the law firm, pulled up to the house. I saw them pull up through the big window in the living room. I went outside and went down the steps. When the car stopped, I was smiling as I walked up to the passenger side of Jessica Cack's car. As soon as I saw Carrie in her baby seat, she was shining with a huge smile, and I started crying, and I was still smiling. That damn smile couldn't be knocked out even with a heavy metal pipe. I just hoped that if I kept going, to smile is to convince the children and myself that everything is fine. It's a pity that I didn't have a plan. As soon as I took her out of the car seat, Michael was already there, and I hugged both of them. Carrie and Michael, I told them that I missed them and that was all I could say. I just kept crying, seeing them, and knowing that Carrie wasn't mine, tearing me apart. Over and over again, now I have to live with it. Every damn day brings a new disappointment. I learn more and more about the scale of Marie's infidelity. I remember our relationship and realize that it was all built on lies. I continue to distance myself from the epicenter of the chaos that began the moment I found Marie on change, but every day I am knocked down again by the moon's betrayal. When I find out how deeply I was deceived, Jessica was an angel, helped me bring the kids into the house. I took all their things, and she closed the doors and trunk. As soon as I put the bags on the floor, I turned around and saw how at me. She didn't say anything, she just looked at me with her eyes, as if she knew exactly what I needed. This hug, I squatted down. She came up and hugged her little arms as tightly as this girl could. Broke me. I wanted to be strong, but no child should hear their parent crying like that. Everyone tells me that you need to do everything to cause as little damage to children as possible. It's right, even logical, but what if literally any the action harms them, that if there is no way to avoid that harm, the fact that the child sees as the source of her strength and defenses are clearly destroyed, must hurt her. How can this not injure her? If I had left her, it would have destroyed her, but by staying in her life, I also hurt her. A 6-year-old should not console an adult, especially for something that she was not to blame at all. At that moment my soul burned with hatred for Maria, but a little girl, about whom Marie lied, showed me love as best she could, and continued to embrace me, an indisputable truth that illuminated me at that time. Moment in this story, Carrie is a victim as much as I am. As an adult, I should handle it better than Carrie's child doesn't even realize that she has already become a victim, as if we are the only survivor of a plane crash. We survived, but it will still leave incurable scars on our souls, but as survivors, we must stick together. We have to be next to each other because we're going through the same thing. I kept looking at it like Marie took my daughter away from me, but it's fair to say that Marie took her father from Carrie. The villain in this story is Marie. I'm not going to feel guilty about what I'm experiencing. I don't know any paternity guide to which you know perfectly well how to react to infidelity and give the best advice on how to survive a divorce, but how to react when you find out that the daughter you raised was never really yours. No one can to tell me what I should feel or how to react to it. The only analogy I can think of is children who were switched at birth, but these couples go through it together. They are both cheated on, both find out that the child that they considered their own is actually the result of another union. If you haven't survived it or what I'm going through now, you won't understand how it feels. After about half an hour, I managed to pull myself together a little. Jessica left, having received from all three of us in a hug. I handed her a small envelope with $500 inside and told her what kind of gasoline she was driving. I realized that the money was not for gas. I carried Carrie in my arms while Michael showed me the things he had done with Grandpa. Carrie was holding on to my neck the whole time, so I knew she was helping to paint the wood too. I started mine. The standard game "I don't believe you," which Michael joined. All this resulted in tickling, first for Carrie, and then for me. I cannot convey how beautiful and at the same time painful it was to hear Carrie's laughter and squeals, to see how Michael is happy and laughing. It was a joy for my broken soul, because I knew that in the future it would be very. There are few moments that we can enjoy so much. They united against me when they began to beat me in. I like to watch them work together, father or not, but by the time it will be enough. Adult for dating, I will teach her to say firmly no. I turned on the music from the very. As an infant, Carrie loved music. I danced with her from the first week of her life until last month. I'm sure it looked ridiculous, but I don't care. I get pleasure, and she likes tea. To be as stupid as I ordered food through P eats for dinner. We are not Asians, but we definitely eat as if we are. Michael easily eats a portion of noodles for 10 years old, and Carrie loves crab rangoons for some reason. I haven't eaten much. My appetite took care of that, so that I lost weight. I just enjoyed having dinner with them again today. They went to school, so I was them. Bathed, Put in pajamas and prepared for bed, Michael loves to read a book before going to bed. I hugged him, told him that I loved him and what I would see in the morning. I put Carrie to bed, read her a book, showing her the details in the pictures. She almost dozed off when I felt myself starting to cry. I kissed her on the top of her head and said, "I love you," for the first time since I learned the truth. You can consider me the last bastard on the planet, I don't care, but having said it, it was like allowing yourself to admit it. The last days for me have been a struggle to understand what is real and what is not. My love for Carrie is real, I love her, but I feel different. Whether it's right or not I don't know, but I love her if I didn't want to take anything away from her before. Now I want to keep taking it. It's a huge difference, but anyway, I was waiting for Carrie to tell me that she was too loves me. I know that she loves even if she doesn't say it, but instead she said Mom loves you. I immediately understood what she meant. I tried not to lose my temper softly when I asked Carrie, "Why did you tell me this?" She replied that her mother told her so. I asked tenderly, "My mother just said it or asked her?" It turned out that my wife was forced to explain to the children why I did not come and will not come and why she will not go home with them. She told the children that her parents' house is her new home, and I was even glad of it. I continued to ask questions, and then Michael came in. He said that my mother told them that she would not come home because I don't love her anymore. What the hell I should have said to this? Yes, it's all because of me. I just fell out of love with your mother to dump. Everything will not happen to me. I called our nanny and asked if she could come and sit with the children for a few hours, since they were already asleep, which meant that she could study while she was paid. She agreed, and I sat down in the car and immediately went to the house of my father-in-law and mother-in-law to call in advance. I did not stop when I arrived, knocked on the door and I asked to see Maria. Her mother took me to her children's room, where she was recovering from injuries. Turned to her mother, put his hand on the doorknob and said that I needed to talk to Maria alone. I felt that I was angry, so I hurried out of the explosion zone. As soon as the door closed, I asked her who the hell does she think she is if she tries to blame our divorce on the fact that I allegedly stopped loving her. She said it was true. I replied that maybe it was, but the reason I can't love her again is that she is deceitful, mean, immoral, depraved, duplicitous, a great attempt to shift the blame for everything that happened. She said that she had already tried to apologize, but I didn't want to listen to her. I exploded. I asked what the hell. If they apologize, it will not undo the damage done or prevent it, and despite all this, I don't believe she really regrets what she did. I asked her how she could manipulate two innocent children to put me in a bad light. If she felt any guilt. I asked at what point I became bad person who ruined our marriage. Without the slightest pause, she replied that it happened when I didn't give her second chance. I won't lie, I stopped her and asked her how much painkillers she was taking and if she was drinking alcohol together with them. It was the only logical explanation for the idea that a deceitful and depraved woman had arisen in her head. Deserves a second chance, mercy and respect, because she has long lost all this because of her actions again. I have no idea who my wife is now, as if she has been replaced by the ghost of Caligula, or Charlie Sheena. My beautiful and the virtuous wife was replaced by a soulless used whore, and it is a miracle in itself that my body did not begin rotting because of her evil deeds. I asked if she regretted that she had destroyed all her life for the sake of cheap intimacy. She replied that it was not only about intimacy. I reminded her that she claimed that she did not. She said that a lot of things, especially in the beginning, had to do with seeking approval, and she liked it. That she was being chased. She got angry when I asked how she could consider herself chastity, put up with this. Hers actions will determine her perception for the rest of her life. Maria and I talked for several hours. She admitted that time. Depression after the birth of Michael. I was the most supportive husband she could only dream of, so I asked, "Why did you betray me so cruelly?" She said that despite such a happy event in our lives, she said she felt love for me and Michael, but For some reason, she felt depression and inner emptiness. She did not go to work for another 6 months. Because of my problems, I found the best psychotherapists and doctors for her. She admitted it and said that this too began to make her feel guilty, because she felt that she was letting me down, because I was carrying everything on my shoulders. She said that she felt depressed, even though she knew she wasn't carrying any weight. She began to doubt. Should she have become a mother at all? Despite the fact that she always wanted to be one, she distanced herself from her friends as in real life and on the internet. She told me every day that she loved me and apologized. I told her that she was not for. I just wanted her to get better. Maybe she was sorry for what she was going to do. When Rebecca came to our house for the first time without warning, I was glad to see her. I knew that Bika was quite persistent to prevent Marie from shutting herself off from her, but kind enough to make Marie open up. It took months for something to happen that could be called a full-fledged outing, even just to make Marie go to Starbucks was a huge win back then. A lot of men think I'm the last loser on earth if I let my wife go to bars or clubs with a lonely friend, and they would be absolutely right. I should have put this ended much earlier, but at that moment in our lives, after all the sadness of isolation, it was somewhere to take it out. That's right, it cheered her up. Even after the first time, she tried to explain that in 2 years she suddenly became. She said that the fact that men were interested in her, even if only for the sake of intimacy, raised her self-assessment. She claimed that the first incident would not have happened if she had not been so drunk, but according to her, it was made voluntarily. When she first cheated, she realized that if I had found out, I would never have come to her again. Touched, she knew she would have lost everything, because she had married empty-handed. I asked her if she had thought someday that I will find out about her cheating and how I would react if I found out. She said that she knew that it would be me destroyed and claimed that she was terribly ashamed. I asked the obvious question why she continued to cheat on her. I said that as soon as I sobered up after the first betrayal, I felt guilt, shame and regret. I remembered that she was very sad for a week after the first outing. Then Rebecca came and they talked alone for a few hours with. At that moment, and for several months, I felt that the same Marie had returned to me. She confessed that on that day. Told Becky that she felt unworthy of me because of what she had done. She knew that if I found out about our marriage will end and I will fight for custody of Michael. She said she decided to take it to the grave and be for me the best wife to get along with my guilt. Now I understand that it was a red flag. Yes, consider me a fool how much you will, but we had a child to take care of, and at that time I was doing 95% of the care responsibilities. When I suddenly got my wife back, at that moment I would have gone crazy if I thought it was a bad sign at that moment. It was all fucking miraculous. After 2 weeks I was back to working full-time when Marie became a stay-at-home mom. Looking back, when Michael was about a year old, these were some of the happiest days of our lives, at least. And the realization that it was all an attempt to make amends for satisfying the stranger in his car forever changed my memories of that time. I asked why she cheated again. I was for her not good enough. It always seemed like we had a great intimate life, except for her period of depression. She always seemed pleased when we did it. She replied that the further she hid this secret, the worse she got herself. She felt but could not confess her feelings to me. She knew that I would want to know why she was sad. But she could not tell the truth. She said that the inner torment of keeping a secret and life in a false facade of happiness to corrode it from within. It reminded me of the time when I went to meet my biological mother's family in another state. I took Michael with me to introduce him to Marie's family for the first time. Cancelled her trip at the last moment, citing illness. I could not prevent her from changing. It was already done, but perhaps I could keep her from the path of lies she has been driving for 6 years. Wasn't mine. I didn't blame myself. She had to admit to cheating and leave, letting me move on, but somehow it turned out that her numerous mistakes, complicated by a lot of lies and carelessness about the consequences, this. Now my burden is what you do to an enemy, not someone you once loved. She told a story about how depressed she was that weekend when I was away. She knew she wasn't worthy of me, even if I didn't realize it. She punished herself even if she didn't know she deserved it. At least that's how she explained it. She knew that if I find out, I'll think she's a whore and disgust her. I've never stopped loving her, telling her how much I love her. At some point she realized that if I knew the truth, I would fall out of love with her. All my attention to her no longer mattered. It didn't have the same value because she realized that she wasn't worthy of it. Attention, but I didn't understand it because I didn't know about her dirty cheating. She said that she called Rebecca to cry on her shoulder and she persuaded her to go out for a drink. According to her, in the first part of the evening she cried and asked what she wanted. To make the bartender treat her to a few shots to cheer her up. She didn't say directly, but it was clear that Rebecca pushed her to flirt. She began to suck with the guy in the turn, not behind the bar, but stopped herself. She returned inside, feeling even worse than before, because I realized that I had cheated again. Then there was more alcohol. Rebecca asked that guy to help Marie get home. Rebecca left them alone and the clothes began to fly off. I asked her if she had ever thought about Michael at that moment, if she had thought about me when she betrayed both of us. Got angry and said that she had never betrayed her son. I let her know that she had betrayed not only me and Michael, but also Carrie, our parents, all those who witnessed our vows, and even God. She betrayed the sanctity of our 7 and marriage. But then I just shook my head and said that despite everything she had done before, at this point in her story, she should have just let me go. I said I would have taken care of Michael, and she could have with anyone after our divorce, even with all the men in the state. I told her that I would gladly write her the name is on the walls of public toilets, but she didn't let go. She kept lying, she kept cheating, and all this. I am disgusted even by just hearing about it. After the first infidelities, she developed a real strategy. She did not wanted these men to get attached to her because she was never going to leave. She wasn't looking for an emotional. She called it fishing, getting a guy, starting flirting, giving him bait, then pulling away, forcing him to make her to seek. But on her schedule she said she always knew I found her beautiful, but getting a second opinion. Then it didn't seem bad to her. I just looked at her, shaking my head. Anyway, the bartender isn't Carrie's father-in. We are sure he was too early to donate semen, and she claims that they only slept once. I asked if she remembered the names of specific men with whom she talked and forced them to pursue her. The answer can. There were a couple of names, but I don't know where to find them. I paused this conversation. Yes, to me. I wanted more answers, but all these details won't come out in one evening, and that's not what I came there for. She was sitting in a chair to keep her leg in a cast on the pillows. I approached her face by a few centimeters and said to her that she is a pitiful semblance of a person and that I sincerely believe that she has no soul. I said that her actions had caused unimaginable pain and would continue to hurt for a long time, but I looked her straight in the eyes and made it clear that I would not allow her to hurt my children anymore. Told her directly that I was deceived for 6 years. If someone deserves a little indulgence in order to focus on their needs, then it's me. And then he added, and every word was true, that any petty tricks and manipulations would only strengthen my. We will never be together. I am disgusted even just to touch her. For her the word loyalty did not exist at all, but whether I am biologically Carrie's father or not, I will remain faithful to my daughter. I will to defend her as much as possible, and if I have to defend her from lies, manipulation and deception of her mother, so be it. I told her that Nadia had friends who would gladly receive new BMW for declaring her a worthless mother. Yes, that was a threat, and I meant every damn word I said. Told her that if she had something to say, she had to say it to my face. There would never be another Michael or Carrie. Passed me messages from their mother. Carrie should know almost nothing about our divorce, much less about my fatherhood, at least for now, but when the time comes, I will tell her the truth myself. It is I who will explain to her as her mother. I made victims of both of us. I will not allow a person, having destroyed our family, to downplay his guilt or dump everything on me. This horrible truth shouldn't be revealed to Carrie now, at least not until I decide for myself that the time came. I also reminded her that she did not have a lawyer and informed her that the children would stay with me at least for the next 2 weeks. She needs time to reflect not only on her betrayal, but also on how cruel her manipulation can hurt Carrie. I'll let her know when she earns the right to be a mother again. She couldn't do much. Object, especially since she was in 2 plaster casts. Let her live a little alone. My God, how many mistakes I committed in my life. While I was driving home, I kept thinking how I wish I knew how it would all end. This is the most a big struggle in my life, and I hope that nothing worse will happen, but so much has already been destroyed. The fictitious marriage in which I lived must be demolished to the ground, ground into dust and sprinkled with salt on the earth on which it stood. But there is no point in hurting a little girl who at the moment does not even suspect a battle deployed between her mother and her dad. These children should not bring us together. When Marie and I are in the same room, the whole atmosphere is filled with a dangerous poisonous gas. I will not allow the children to be exposed. At such a risk, I will not quarrel with her in their presence, but I swear I will put her in her place and stop any of her lies or manipulation if necessary. Sorry for taking so long. It's just that it seems to me that every decision I make entails 1,000 consequences. Those who say be a man or DNA doesn't matter should to understand that hurting Carrie is the last thing I want, and I am determined not only to support her, but to fight. I don't know how it will all end, but both me and this little girl turned out to be deceived by the same man, a man whom I will not allow to traumatize the girl, since will not happen, and no one will come near my daughter until I allow it. It will not be Mary's decision. If it comes to that, I will check his background and meet with him in person and only then make a decision. I was able to protect the children from the coming storm and try to protect them from as much shrapnel as possible, but our souls will bleed more than once before it is all over. This slaughter could be avoided, but as soon as the bomb exploded, it is no longer possible to dodge its impact. Sorry for letting off steam. Originally I was going to only write a short update, but sometimes it's too hard. Brevity is not my sister. I go to psychotherapy twice a day. Week. Not sure if it helps, but this is just the beginning. I need to go to bed, so sorry for the confusion. I will leave everything as it is in the near future. Update. Don't wait. These posts help me to splash out a little what I feel, so thank you. I just need to focus on my recovery and make this life transition as much as possible painless for children. Update 4 is not sure why I'm afraid of starting to miss something. It's very difficult to talk about one part of my situation without touching on others aspects of my life. If the text seems unrelated to you, I'm sorry, but it will be long, because the life that I lived a long time ago, and now it seems to me that it was just a dream, and now I am awake. The best analogy I could that Marie forced Michael, Carrie and me to participate in a cheap reality show against our will, and unbeknownst to us, the show was cancelled, the masks were torn off, and we were left with the cold reality of our collective life. Not a day goes by that I don't think how happy I was in my old life, but now I know that it was all. I would not like to go back there. The most important news I have to report is that legally I am no longer Carrie's father. I was never her biological father. My name has been removed from her. The birth certificates are official. Since Marie and I are still married, now I am Carrie's stepfather, as strange as it may be sounded. When the divorce is officially completed, I will become nothing to her, just as she is to me. What should have taken about 2 months took 4 because of the impending divorce. My name had to be removed from her certificate of birth to move in the right direction with divorce. Legally I had every right to do so. Nevertheless, the decision about whether it is worth deleting my name was left to the judge, who had to decide what would be best for your child. DNA obliges you to pay for items before the age of 18, but our judicial system considers it secondary when it comes to removing names from legal documents. I was willing and able to show the judge that I will voluntarily continue to pay for health insurance and other needs for Carrie. Many men in my situation do not. Yes, and they shouldn't. None of these decisions should depend on the judge. The injustice of the system did not affect me, but this does not mean that it is fair. From the moment I learned that Carrie is not my daughter, I thought over and over again about what is the best thing to do in this situation. Yes, the realization that she, not mine, emotionally destroyed me, so I'm not even sure I can describe it in words. But if I decided, Carrie's question based on emotion would be a recipe for disaster on emotions not based on reason and logic to allow his love for Carrie to control me would be as stupid a decision as to allow that to be done by hating Marie. And legally, I had every right to sever all ties with Marie and Carrie, since neither of them had ever been to me really close. Morally, I couldn't let Carrie suffer economically because of her mother's promiscuous life. Ethically, I could not allow her to feel in the slightest degree that her mother was to blame for her birth at the end. After much reflection, I also came to the realization that both she and I were victims of Mary. Freedom of choice in all aspects of our relationship. When I cheated on me, they didn't tell me that she no longer loved me or perhaps never loved me. Deprived of the right to know that she was unfaithful, I was deprived of the opportunity to find out that I was not the only one for her. I did not know that she conceived a child with another man and forced me to raise him as my own. Of her own for 6 years, Carrie did not have the opportunity to choose me as a father. She could not tell her mother. I wanted to give us both a chance to be heard the day after. How my name was officially removed from Carrie's birth certificate. I applied for her legal adoption. This was my plan from the beginning. Once I could make sure her face wouldn't be a reminder of her betrayal. I only needed to know one thing: how I would feel when I saw her after I found out that she was not mine biological daughter. If meeting her was perceived as a slap in the face that her mother inflicted on me, I would not be able to adopt. Some think I'm a creature fragile masculinity, it seems, so one toxic feminist put it. When I wasn't sure how Carrie would react if I had left Marie and Carrie, which legally I had every right to do, it wouldn't be a wrong decision, and I won't pretend that Michael's presence in my life didn't affect my decision, because Carrie is his sister, and Marie is his mother. He's good older brother and sister loves him that with and an important role in my choice, but Carrie is my daughter. No, not to the same extent as Michael, my son, because he's of my blood, but I'm her father and I want her to stay in mine life. I just felt that it was necessary to officially put everything in order and give us opportunities that we had not had before. At first glance, it may seem like pointless legal steps to get back to where I already was. My marriage was a lie. Relationship with Marie was a pretense. Probably from the beginning what I deserve is the opportunity to start all over again, choose another woman with the hope that she will be faithful and devoted, but I will never be able to. I'll never know what could have been, even if any choice was better than marrying the unfaithful women. Children will not know how vicious and treacherous their mother's actions were for many years, but one day I want them, especially Carrie, to know about my struggles, how I tried to hold on and protect them. I want her to realize that despite all the hatred I felt for her mother, I had given myself the opportunity to choose to be her father or not, and I chose to be. When the judge asks this innocent little girl if she wants me to be her dad again, I want her to answer yes, without thinking. Only years later she realizes that she actually chose me as a father. She also had a choice. We were dumped together and we had no say on this issue, but I do everything possible on a legal level to adopt her as if she is my flesh and blood, even if she is not the only one. Once when she becomes an adult and realizes that she had a chance to free herself from me and she did not take it, I want her to smile. I want her to know that I didn't have to be her father. I chose to be her father. In a way, it's makes our bond even stronger than blood. There are several people with whom I am related by blood and I would prefer not to be connected to them, but I can't choose, and Carrie and I chose each other when we could have severed all ties. She knows that I love her and will always love to function every day just to get through this hell in which has turned my life incredibly hard. It's exhausting, but I've also reflected on how much I want to. The children perceived all this years later, when they became adults, when they learned about the actions of their mother, about how I was hers. Caught in what I found. I want them to be disgusted when Carrie realizes that I didn't have to pay any pennies for her upbringing, but I did it anyway. I want her to feel grateful when she realizes that her Mother put us both in this situation, but we went through it together and I want her to be glad that we coped when they realized that their stability could have been completely destroyed because of their mother, but I held all on myself for the sake of the three of us. I want them to understand at least part of the sacrifice I made. I will not allow myself to be 10 or 20 years have been telling distorted stories. I know their mother is selfishly pathetic and worthless. Once they will also find out this truth, and I hope that they themselves will decide to turn away from her for what she did, but it will be their decision. When the truth is revealed, all I can do is remove Mary from my life in every way I can, and continue to live. What will happen to her? I don't care about children. This is the only thing that matters now. Many people asked how I coped with the fact that Marie told the children that we would never be together again because I was bigger than her. I don't like it. The very next day after school I took them both for ice cream in the local park. Michael seemed to have come to terms with it. That I didn't love their mom, but he didn't like it. Carrie had a hard time hearing that I didn't love her mom, and my answer was that her mom doesn't really love me. Didn't help. They both cried a lot and they had a lot of confusion in their heads. I did my best. Tell them that without any doubt, their mom really does love them, and I love them more than anything else in this world, but they had to hear the truth and accept the reality that none of us asked for is really all that has. Carrie asked why I didn't love my mom anymore. I wanted to be as honest with her as I could, but not knew how to tell her that her mother was insane. All I could think of was to tell her that her mother lied to me and hurt. She hugged me to comfort me, and it almost broke my heart, considering what she needed herself. Consolation. Michael asked what would happen to the divorce. I told them that they would live with me and I would take care of them at home. During the week I explained that the court would decide what weekend they could spend at their grandparents' with their mother. I promised to them that from now on their mother and I will keep all our quarrels to ourselves. I explained that we have been with her for a long time. Talked last night after they got home. Carrie said she wanted her mother to stay with. It hurt me to tell her that this would never happen again under any circumstances, but she had to. She said her mom told her she wanted to come back and stay with us. I looked at her right in eyes and said that I had no doubt that their mother would really like to stay with us. I told them that it was impossible. Explain now, but their mother betrayed the three of us. I said they weren't old enough to understand it at this time. But I promised that one day I would explain to them why I believe that their mother no longer deserves to live with us. Strange, but Carrie took it more easily than Michael. He began to ask at what age he would be able to find out what his mother had done to him. Didn't like when I said it wasn't related to age but to maturity level. He said it was an excuse. I didn't argue with him. I said that I wanted them to love their mother and treat her with respect because how much they know she hasn't done anything wrong. One day they'll find out. I'll leave letters in her will, if necessary, in case Rebecca brought an ex-convict to the house who will be ready to kill me if it doesn't come to that. I'll tell them myself when they're old enough, understanding that this will negatively affect their opinion of her. I have a hunch that they will soon see their mother's version, who will do most of the work for me. One day they will find out what she did to all of us, but we stayed together and managed to build a decent life for her. Three greatest sacrifices. I can't pretend to be in front of children and act like their mother means something to me. She's disgusting in everyone. Meaning, if she had died, I wouldn't have shed a single tear for her vile soul when she went straight to hell. She deserves it. I hate her for what she did to me and the children. I hate her for allowing herself. I hate her for the stress and tears she brought to our families. She doesn't deserve forgiveness and even more compassion. I don't consider her injuries in the accident to be karma. It's just the pain and suffering she deserves. Real karma would find a way not to destroy my car. And I heard from the children that the next day their mom will have the pins removed from the shoulder. I didn't tell them that I hope they will do it with a powerful electromagnet, but it was hard not to say it. A few weeks after our conversation, the children returned home from their grandmother and grandfather with the letter. It was sealed in an envelope with my name on the front. I couldn't throw it away in front of my eyes in the children, so I just put it on the table with a steel mail. After I put the children to bed I decided to read it. Marie began by apologizing for hurting me, claiming that she never intended to take it to the point. I forgot who I was and who I wanted to be. I apologized for hurting the children, despite everything I had for her. I had to give her his due. If she had stopped there, I might even have shown her some respect. But then she wrote that she still loves me with all her heart, always loved and always will love. I needed to laugh, and this letter gave me that chance because I knew that she really believed that she had written, and made her words so funny. According to her, that's why she didn't want to develop feelings for other men in her. My heart was mine. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. She couldn't give her body to others if she loved. If she loved me, she wrote that she gave away her body. Other men, because I wanted to feel what it means to be young and free from responsibility and commitment, because she never felt it, but since she had no emotional connection with these men, her heart, she said, always belonged only to me. In other words, her infidelities were strictly physical, which, in her opinion, should have sounded like something positive. Such a conclusion could only be made by the sickest of doctors by the fact that I disappeared from Mary's life. I protected myself from her madness. It was necessary for my own peace of mind, but I also fenced off from a full understanding of the depth of her mental and bodily traumatism from the day when everything was revealed to me already. 1,000 times I thought I had never really known her, but the fact that she chose to write made me realize that she had never. I didn't know me. She didn't even try to get angry. I understood it, because the letter was written. Her words were in fact justified her actions as the lesser of two evils for her. The lack of emotions in relation to other men, allegedly, saved her heart for me. It was her explanation. I realized that the realization of that your partner is in a purely emotional connection with someone else can be destructive to the soul, but no one ever picks up, never beats emotional lover through the phone or computer, and no one has yet conceived a child through calls, emails, or messages that someone else would then raise this child. I can say with full confidence that I would prefer that she would make 1,000 emotional connections, if they never outgrew the physical ones, that she didn't understand it. Just screams, I never knew you. She chose the worst of two evils in my eyes and never knew me so much. To understand this, I have heard many stories of other people about cheating, but I have never heard anyone say it. There's never been an emotional connection between us, and that's exactly what she's saying, and yet she's not aware of it. Which essentially admits that the last 6 years of her life was nothing more than a primitive immoral being. I am guided only by instincts. Only irrational creatures behave this way, unable to control their intimate impulses and behavior. She understood that her actions were wrong, but to some extent she justified herself for the fact that, what did I do just not to go crazy before this letter? I had little understanding of how she perceived her actions that were performed with enthusiasm and without remorse by the depth of licentiousness that she not only accepted, but also welcomed, completely destroyed any attraction I had to her because of her. I will stay with these forever. Horrible pictures in my head, like the one I caught her with that random guy, but that scene was nothing compared to hers. Admitting that she had cheated with so many men that it would be possible to staff an aircraft carrier when private. The detective showed me the recovered messages, photos and videos from her old phone. Something inside me broke. I had the feeling that I was married to the strawberry site Yellow Hub. Anyone who finds out that his partner has had a one-night stand, I sincerely sympathize with you. People who find out that the partner was changed by the same person, my heart breaks for you, but I can't find words to describe. What is it like to find out that the love of your life gave to the lowest and nastiest things like some cheap ancient Rome and enjoyed it? Now I can't imagine Marie without seeing in front of me, through the eyes of the picture, how her face is covered with oatmeal jelly. She disgusts me so much that I will perceive in this guise, no emotional connection with another person would always make me think of her like that. She ceased to be worthy the moment she turned her life into a 6-year ticking time bomb. The petition to adopt Carrie was only the second or third most important event for Marie on the day I filed the paperwork at noon. the sheriff arrived at her parents' house to hand over the divorce papers in 10 minutes more. One sheriff handed her the papers on the civil lawsuit I had filed against her, calls and messages from her phones. Parents were left unanswered and were not read. Calls to my law firm ended with the fact that she was strongly. They advised me to hire my own lawyer to start the case. I was told that on that day she yelled at several. As a result, Nadia told her that the divorce would go ahead, whether she liked it or not. Any further harassment of her or her employees will be strictly suppressed. I would even like Marie to continue. I never went to crush the orangey, but for what she did, she deserved a real criminal punishment later. A week ago, the lawyer representing her called Nadia and they had their first conversation. He asked if he was serious. We are committed to a civil lawsuit for reimbursement of expenses incurred in raising a child who is not. My Nadia assured him that we intend to get back every peak spent for fraud with Nadia's paternity. I didn't mention that it's not about the money even if I win the chance that I will see at least part of the awarded. Extremely small funds, but if I win, the money will be deducted from each of her salaries until full settlement. It will be an expensive reminder and punishment for what she did, and even if I lost, she would still have to pay a lawyer for representing her interests, and this is even more expenses that she cannot afford. He said that he understands that the vast majority of the assets, including the family home, belonged to me long before our marriage, but he added that we cannot seriously count on obtaining custody of both children, receiving alimony from her, and lack of alimony for herself after a serious accident. Nadia told her lawyer that his client was cheating on her marriage long before the accident and chose an unfortunate time to be caught. She informed him that our goal was to make it as painful as possible for Marie, the only valuable property that was in her name, which remained at her disposal, was her car, and she could leave it. She was allowed to leave her pension because my portfolio was vastly superior to her irony in that she wouldn't even have it pension account if I hadn't insisted that she put the maximum possible amount into it from each. She never had to pay for utilities, buy her own car and pay insurance was her only expense. The rest of the money she could spend on herself. Now she would have to live only on mine. I know that she has already begun to feel financial difficulties, and this will only aggravate if I win. Civil lawsuit. Starbucks sales will definitely drop, but it's necessary. I think she never expected me to go in like this. Far from cars, I drove her car for a few months after my car was wrecked in the accident. Realization that it is the only valuable possession she has added to the pleasure, even if it's from my side and myself, a new beautiful SUV, and asked a friend to follow me on it. While I was driving Marie's car to her parents, I left the key in the mailbox, not knowing when she would be able to drive. Judging by her past, I was sure that she would start looking for new lovers as soon as she could hope that life with parents will make her feel young and free from responsibility. However, to bring random men into the house, it's somehow just indecent to her parents. Sooner or later she will need some place to continue her adventures. For example, this place can just be the car Eura TLX. I thought how ridiculous it would be to donate it to the local a school for students majoring in criminal law. Is kind of perverse. The most satisfying thing in that I left this car, it was the lack of a spare tire. It was never there. This was one of my main arguments against buying this particular car. When she asked my opinion, I remember how she said, all so cute and charming, that she will always have me to help if she suddenly punctured on the road. Now I could, without hesitation of conscience, to leave a note under her trunk mat with the words, I bet you could use a spare tire now, but I am sure that sooner or later she will understand it herself. A few days after the lawyers spoke on the phone, they met in person to discuss some issues from Marie's side, requested a meeting to discuss situation with Carrie. I didn't want her to put obstacles in the way of my adoption of Carrie, so I agreed for the sake of ours daughters, and we met at Nadia. I was sitting in the main conference room when Nadia walked in with Marie's lawyer, and Marie herself didn't really understand what people meant when they said that someone looked like after a storm until he saw it. Then her appearance was terrible. The first few minutes I thought that my eyes were deceiving me, that it was some kind of hallucination from hatred, but when Nadia glanced at me, as if confirming Maria's appearance, I realized that she was not going crazy. Lost a lot of weight so much that her face became a little sunken. She was never overweight and easily lost weight after both pregnancies, but now she looked like she was being prepared for filming in the Crime Chronicles of Florida. She is short. Cut her hair and looked like it hadn't been washed since the accident. I'm not sure she could wear to look better, but I know for sure that she got all her stuff back, so no one can blame me for her appearance. The lawyers began to discuss various issues, exchanging remarks. I felt that Marie was looking at me. If I did, I would only want to express hatred and contempt when I did. I glanced in her direction. I wondered where that beautiful girl I once knew had gone. It was a real-life failure from the beautiful Dobrojak. In just 6 months now I am. It's just that the guy she was using. Thankfully, the conversation soon turned to discussing the situation with Carrie. They asked if we were trying to find Carrie's biological father. I replied that nothing will be done in this direction until the divorce and custody issues are fully completed. Then I asked whether she remembered any names that could lead us to my father. I hated even to say it, and she did not. I like to hear it, but the truth is, she replied that she does not remember any names from this period of her life. Asked if she was going to prevent my legal adoption, Carrie, she replied that she would like mine. The name has never been removed from my daughter's birth certificate, and she certainly isn't going to bother me again. It was all I needed to know. On this I was ready to end the meeting, but no, before I managed to get up and try to end the conversation, Marie asked me if you could forgive me and accept me back as wife after my first mistake, if I confessed and swore that I would never back down again. This is a blow. This was a question she probably asked herself over and over again since the first night she cheated. I already knew the answer, and I too. It was her attempt to assert herself. She knew that for me her betrayal is a betrayal after whom I would have immediately and forever erased from my life. We discussed more than once how each of us would react to. I have always said that if I ever find out that she cheated on me, I will never listen to anything. One word of hers, but all this was before the betrayal, and after that, only shouts, excuses and a hot atmosphere. After several minutes of silence I reluctantly said that she already knew. I wouldn't give her a second chance. Then I asked her, if I had a random child from an affair and I brought him home in 6 years, would she take care of him further? Everything went worse than anywhere. She said that I am doing everything possible to hurt her. Now I am this. Didn't deny. She said I wasn't her parents to punish bad behavior, meaning civil lawsuit. I made it clear to her that the punishment is divorce, and the civil lawsuit is an attempt to get back what I have lost and what I am entitled to. She accused me of being willing to ruin the lives of our children in order to ruin her. As if she was sitting on a crystal, she started crying and says that she still loves me, to which I rolled my eyes, her tears more. I don't have the slightest bit of sympathy. They only push me to be even tougher with her. I promised her that children always will be fed and well dressed, but at the same time he made it clear to her that I don't care if she starves or walks barefoot someday. I was ready to do anything to make her happy. I asked what else I could do to prevent her from betraying me. She replied that she had betrayed herself. I screamed that she had betrayed Carrie, that she had betrayed everyone in of their lives. Lawyers tried to reduce the intensity of the situation. Nadia offered a temporary an agreement on visitation with children, knowing when she can see them, will allow her to better plan visits to doctors. I warned her that, though I did not care what she was doing, and that it was none of my business, but that she should not cite any strange men to the children. She said that she did not date anyone. She did not like it, but she promised that if it comes to this, then without children. I asked her if anyone except Rebecca knew about her infidelity. She said that she told. And then only about the kiss after the first incident. The sister got mad and cursed her for 5 minutes. Marie knew that she would never be able to tell her sister how far it had gone. No one but Rebecca knew about everyone connections. Then she asked if there was a chance that we would undergo family therapy to try to save the marriage. I asked her, why do I need a marriage without intimacy? She exploded that we have always had sex. I explained what is happening to this now. Finished because I'll never touch her dirty ass considering the number of her partners comparable to the number of victims of the COVID epidemic. Marie asked if I hated her. I'm not sure if she was expecting a yes or no answer, but with every fiber of my soul came up like this: that's how things are, we're just waiting for the divorce case to be handed over to the judge, the civil case can't even be included in write-offs until the divorce process is completed. The children cope, given the circumstances, they see both pairs of grandparents more often. If there is something positive in all this chaos, then this is it. And yes, I understand that I need to let go of hatred. I go to psychotherapy, but it took a while to find someone who, even a psychotherapist suited me, admits that I have many objective reasons. Hate Marie. I'm not the kind of person who seeks validation, but the realization that mine hatred is not irrational really helps. My new therapist helps me to vent my emotions and tries to help let go of the situation. I'm not good at meditating, but this is something new for me. The therapist was okay for the first 4 sessions. The first meeting always feels more like an acquaintance regardless from how much information you have already indicated in the questionnaire. At first everything went quite positively. She sympathized and, at the same time, encouraging is not to hear. But when we began to discuss the problems that arose before the infidelity, her tone changed. She seemed to hint that sometimes we ourselves do something that hurts or annoys our partner, but he does not tell us about it if such problems are smoldering for weeks, months, or years. It becomes something like a powder keg, which we also contributed to the creation of. I have enough pride and common sense to understand that despite all my shortcomings and mistakes, nothing I have ever done can justify what I have done to Mary. Nothing I have done justifies and 1% of her actions. So I changed the psychotherapist. I tried several sessions with a male therapist. He could understand the feeling of humiliation and obsessive thoughts. He understood how much it's all overwhelming, but I just didn't feel comfortable with him. Thank God I've already cried almost everything, but if I need to talk about some emotional things, I don't want to cry in front of a man. It's for that. To drink, play sports. We don't discuss why Gary's wife is emotionally unavailable to him and doesn't understand him. Love language. At least I'm not that part of me. I wanted to give him more chances, but I didn't see how between us could to have a connection. If it makes me sexy, so be it. It's just more comfortable for me to trust a woman. And finally, I found the right therapist. She was the only daughter of her in a family with 3 brothers, which gives her an idea about men. Her specialization is overcoming infidelity and counseling on grief. When I told her that brought me to her, she used half a box of tissues. She said she was surprised how well I held everything. Not yet sure if it was said as a sign of support or if she's really shocked that I haven't ended up in a mental hospital yet. Of this post I will call my psychotherapist Sarah. She helped me more than I expected just listening. She says that I hard to read and that my behavior doesn't match my friendly nature. She noted that I use humor to diffuse tense situations and disarm people. I said that all the fun would be ruined if she predisguises my humor. She says that I must sort myself out myself. She is sure that she will help me, but restoring my life and myself is something that I will have to do myself. I can't just pay someone to. He did all the work for me. I need to understand what condition I really have, fix what I can, and amputating something that cannot be repaired will hurt, even more painful than I have already experienced, but I must come to terms with what. Because he is no longer there. Children also visit their psychotherapist 40 minutes individually with each and 40 minutes with the 3 of us twice a week. They do a great job of psychotherapy. Helps them come to terms with the inevitable. I was a little worried about how the family sessions would go, given my feelings for their mother. I was silent when the children expressed how much they missed their mother or wished we were together again. I thought maybe it was worth showing on a doll where Marie hurt me. But dolls don't have a soul. Sometimes it seems to me that I don't have it anymore either. I try be sociable and lean on friends, but given what I have to go through, idle talk seems too much. Small. I know that my friends are already tired of my outpourings. I would also be tired. I try not to go to those joys, but betrayal Still devouring me from the inside, it's always somewhere in the background, and of course, when we go for a drink, they point to. I understand that they are conventionally beautiful, but I have no desire to get acquainted with them, and unlike my wife's hygiene alone would not allow me to have casual relations, even if I imagined. Especially since none of these young girls left the establishment with thoughts of taking a ticket to the forefathers because she could not sleep with me. The lack of interest was mutual, but it changed not only mine. The way I look at women, it has changed the way I look at people in general. It seems that I now question the personality and sincerity of everyone around. Before all this, Marie was the kind of person I really admired. It makes me put questioning and other people in my life, both men and women, whom I have admired over the years. She didn't make me a misogynist, she made me a misanthrope, even though she may feel ashamed or guilty. What I did, I am sure that it will be easy enough for her to enter into carnal relations with another man. She will start eat better, gain weight, and guys will begin to be interested in her in the blink of an eye. My opinion is that she is easy. Will continue to live an intimate life. I can't and won't. I already feel dirty from the inside out. I know how much oatmeal jelly, egg sweat, saliva and stench from other men she splashed out on my body. I feel that she has defiled me. She has killed not only any desire for her, but also the desire to have sex in general. No matter how strange it may sound, Maria was the only one for me. She was beautiful. I did not have need to look at other women. I thought we had something special. Now I just can't see in women beauty. My mind understands this, but my subconscious believes that all women the same as Marie and Rebecca, and it's my inner struggle whether it's fair or not. Someone wrote to me very much supportive message with encouragement. Then this man said he was almost jealous of me as a future bachelor with. He said that I would not have problems with women and that I would be perceived as high-ranking male. I thanked him for his support, not to mention that what he is looking forward to is for me. I know that people sleep with each other right and left every day and everywhere. It is their business, and those who they sleep with is not mine, but good luck to them. I don't want the stranger even very much. Attractive stranger touched me. I'm a person who respects personal space. I can't imagine how it is to meet someone in a bar or through an app and, after a little communication, to have sex with him. Understanding that people can do this, stupidly take off their clothes and go into battle, not seeing a problem in this, strikes me. Obviously, in a world with Tinder and dating sites, my position is an exception. I would constantly think about how long ago they did this with someone other. The vast majority of people adopt a lifestyle with quick connections. The number of intimate partners Marie will not be so unusual for a modern single woman. I think most guys would do the same if they could. I couldn't, and I wouldn't want to, and obviously never wanted to be with someone who has ever done that. A part of me thinks that Marina spoke about her infidelity intentionally. If she had just confessed to what we did, divorced, maybe I could put myself back together and someday give someone else a chance. It feels like she wanted to destroy me so that I would never want to be with someone again, just because she couldn't be with. I have a devilish plan, and no matter how many souls she takes, no matter how much she uses the rubber of someone else's DNA, that's it. Equally got into my life disgustingly. I hope that her whole household will just rot when Marie and I were the only ones for each other in terms of intimacy. Each AK was pure and beautiful. Her first betrayal destroyed everything we had or could have had in an instant. Any person who enters into a physical connection with that who has a relationship defile and poisons this relationship forever in a split second. Our relationship is like a glass cold milk, and the touch of her lips to the lips of another man is like a drop of ink in this milk. Is just one drop in this. Just like milk, don't pay attention to the change in color. It probably still tastes the same. Just drink, really. But instead of telling me about that one drop right away, so that I decided what to do next, she made me drink the whole glass. Moreover, she continued to give me this ink. There are more and more of this toxic ink. Some people look like for a glass of milk with one drop of Maury's ink. Now a glass of ink with one drop of milk. She is a defiled one who does not Good for nothing but to be a prostitute or meet in the prawn. I wish that on the night of her conception someone ran up and hit her father on the bell so hard that they crashed into his spleen and he could no longer have children. Without it, the world would be a better place, the things that most people enjoy when starting a new relationship and cause. I remember how my breath caught in my throat when I met Marie. I even had to get used to the fact that a beautiful girl like Marie invaded my personal space. It's not related to low self-esteem. Both of us, we were open to each other, but introverts by nature. We gradually got used to each other, learned kissing, feeling close, and I've been very slow to get used to these things. Everybody thinks teenagers are just walking hormones, but Marie and I were not like that. We were very slow in this regard. I was taught that this is how it should be. It was what I wanted and she swore to me that she wanted it too. We both believed in it. We built everything slowly and consciously, but now the very thought of intimacy with someone else disgusts me and, of course, now the very thought of Marie acts on me as an antidote to Viagra. It's all too hard every day. I'm more ashamed of being part of the human race. My life shouldn't have worked out, so we had so much beautiful moments ahead like a family, but the memories are shattered and these moments buried. After all, I loved Carrie, but I had to let her go because our relationship was imposed against our will. I tell her that if I had a choice, I would choose her as my daughter again. When the judge asks her whether she wants me to adopt her, she will reciprocate my love. The circle is closed, everything will fall into place. As far as possible, I can never be her father. This title belongs to some guy who even doesn't know he has a 6-year-old daughter, but I'm the only dad she's ever known, a protector and breadwinner out of any legal field. I did what I had to do to preserve my sanity even when others questioned my actions or accused me of cruelty. I did what I thought was necessary to give two of Marie's biggest victims the opportunity to claim something that was never truly theirs. I made mistakes in the way I handled this situation, and I will only understand what mistakes are when I am completely. I will go this way, but I did my best. Update 5, my life was ruined 47 times. Hope this post will be shorter than the previous one. I apologize if my previous masterpieces caused someone a strain or even an aneurysm. I assure you, it wasn't mine. Someone asked in the comments to a previous post about Rebecca and if I had any contact with her. I will explain how things are at the moment. I have not seen or communicated with the Bikovo fateful morning. I do not know how much she is now important to Marie. I don't know if they had any contact, but I can assume that yes, the kids didn't say anything about Rebecca. All I know is what the kids are telling me, and that's a little bit. However, a few weeks after, that's all. I trusted an old friend and told him what was going on. I chose this particular friend because his wife is a famous gossip girl. She is also a good friend of mine, so I didn't feel any guilt for used one of her negative qualities for his own purposes. For those who don't know, Becky has her own salon in which employs 9 people, if staffed, since word began to slowly spread through our group of friends. 2 stylists left the salon. I can't know if they left because they got a better offer or in a sign of protest against her role in the collapse of my marriage, but I can hope for the latter, when everything will be final completed. I will easily and naturally talk about her dirty secrets if it makes some people not want to. Working for her or visiting her salon is fine, but I'll wait to see if my actions will bring her any some suffering. Once in the supermarket, I ran into Maria's sister. She hugged me and apologized for stupidity and immorality of his sister. I am sure many here would tell me not to contact her at all, since she is from the enemy camp, but I have always liked Mendy and her husband Duke, so I invited them and the children to spend time at the pool. We had a barbecue, a dog looked after the children and grilled meat, while Mendy and I talked. We tried to prevent the children from heard our conversation. Fortunately, they were passionate about the pool and the food, which allowed us to talk to our heart's content too. Don't stretch the story. The essence of such is Marie's family. She knew that she cheated on me not with one man, but with several, but Marie threw dust in their eyes when it came to admitting about the numbers of these men to Andy and her parents. She had a couple of short novels after Michael's birth until she was caught using the word couple. I asked how many people she counts as a couple, and Mendy replied 2 or 3. I went and brought a folder with text correspondence between Marie and the guys she slept with so that Mendy could see everything herself while she was doing everything. I looked through it. I explained that we were able to confirm the connection with 47 different men with whom Marie entered into intimate relationships since Michael's birth. I also explained that these 47 are only tip of the iceberg, because we know that she often arranged. It doesn't matter if her heart really belonged to me, I'd sell it for transplant to someone who is 40 more. Although I would have known that it was defective. After lunch the children continued to play, so I was able to talk to the Dugo and Mendy. She told him everything, while I went to get ice cream for the children and handed it out, and when I came back I saw tears on his eyes, and he hugged me tightly in a brotherly way. Before I sat down again he asked about the guy I had met Marie with and what damage I did to him. All I could say to him was that when I left, the guy was unconscious, and his the left eyelid looked like it belonged to a hound, a dog, because of how much the police sagged me. So I knew they didn't go to the cops, but I knew that a fracture of his orbit would require the operation, and the bill for it didn't come to me. Doc said I had to kill this guy. I replied that if Marie and Becca didn't jump on my back to knock me down I probably would have done so, but I'm glad the Duke didn't ask is there. If anyone has an idea who Carrie's father really is, I explained that my beloved wife slept with too many men to find out for sure, but the search for his father will gain momentum as soon as all divorce and civil trials. Both were happy to learn that Marie would be ruined in the divorce. Both were glad to hear that psychotherapy helped the three of us a lot. When I said I was looking forward to Marie getting back to work so she could pay alimony and a possible civil penalty, they laughed. Doc said that if there was paternity fraud, I told him that Marie might also have committed fraud with motherhood, because a woman capable of what she has done is no longer a mother. About an hour after my phone began to burst with calls and messages. These were Marie's parents, as well as some unfamiliar numbers. Then Mendy called and I replied I could hear her, but there was a lot of screaming and noise in the background. She went outside away from fuss and said that she had told her parents the whole truth. Her father was busy throwing things Marie into her car. Her mother cried and said what a shame they felt for raising such a whore. Call me old-fashioned, but if even your own mother calls you a whore, you can safely say that you have been riding the route for too long. Before Villia, I heard Marie crying and begging that she had nowhere to go, but instead of gloating that she got some of what she was owed, I thought about the children. I don't mind Carrie and Michael staying at Grandma's house and grandfather's, but any other places where Marie could stay were completely unacceptable for children to were next to her. If she had gone to Rebecca's, would never have allowed the children to be near her stupid head hairdresser. Even if she somehow managed to find herself a hotel room on her modest income, I wouldn't. I would trust her enough to be sure that she wouldn't bring any random passenger there hungry for fun. I was glad her family had learned part of the truth, but I knew that. However, if she did not find a stable and safe place to live, the court would have not allowing her to see the children unsupervised, seeing them under supervision for an hour or twice a week. It will hurt. But this is the grave she has dug for herself with her hellish debauchery, so whether it's a homeless shelter or a real ditch, I don't care at all. Andy and I were still talking on the phone when I heard Marie go outside and ask if she had spoken to me. I asked what I wanted. She said to Marie, I probably shouldn't have told the truth, because Marie snatched the phone from the Mendy and started me begging her to forgive. She asked why I wanted to ruin her life so persistently. I just replied that it was because she ruined mine. She assured me that I could get my life back if I just forgave her. I said that life was over and never really existed because of her lies, and again she lied. Sworn hoses. She insisted that none of them meant anything to her. I said that they all meant more to her than I or the safety of her family, otherwise she wouldn't have risked everything over and over again. She asked why I leaked everything to her sister, and I asked her why she wasn't honest with them herself, especially about the fact that I'm not Carrie's father. and said I was her father. I cursed back and said yes, I'm Carrie's dad and always will be, but at least she had to tell her family the truth. She said her parents were abandoning her and kicking her out. I said that I was glad to hear it and that I would do everything I could to make her life worse. She said she loved me and asked how I could be so cruel to someone who loves me. I replied that she should have asked herself this question 6 years ago. I know that she feels regret only because now she loses everything, and people find out the truth, that she has done what she has done makes her despicable and condemnable. What she is now experiencing with her family, exactly what she deserves. 3 days later Nadia called me and said that Marie's lawyer wants to arrange a new meeting. We scheduled it for last Friday at Nadia's office. Let's just say I didn't have the slightest desire to see or to talk to Marie, but I understood that her actual thoughtless situation could influence the custody court decision. As soon as we sat down, her lawyer reported that Marie was living in her car with. Since her parents kicked her out, I asked her why she didn't go to live with Rebecca, because it helped her get into the. Marie did not answer such a situation. Instead she asked, is there a way for me to let her go home or? I said she needed to ask her parents if she could go back to their home in which I lived and the children was closed to whores, harlots, and prostitute women, and she with co. She was told to stay away from family therapy. She could try it with someone who was stupid enough to marry her next, but I was sure that after such a life of Noah, she would never be able to be faithful again. The lawyer objected to my language and the harshness of my words. I told him that he was corrupt since he took it up at all. Defend such a whore and asked if she pays him for his services through OnlyFans or just sucks him. Nadia put her hand on me on the shoulder to calm down and invited everyone to be more civilized. I asked to take a break, because already prepared a new portion of verbal attack and I needed to let off steam. We took a 20-year break and I went to my car to just be away from everyone. I thought about scribbling cars Maury home sweet home, but I knew that the cameras were filming, and I already had enough lawyers. I saw the garbage from fast food in the passenger seat and a bunch of clothes in the back. I try to let go of my hatred with the help of a professional. But I see no reason to treat her with the slightest respect. Everything about her has become disgusting. Asked me if possible to stick to the answers in the format of yes or no. I agreed to try, but Neil, that there is a limit to the number of lies and excuses Marie can tolerate. She promised that she would try to end meeting as soon as possible. When we sat down at the table again, I just looked at Marie and her lawyer with such hatred that without saying a word he had let them know that they could both go to hell. Nadia resumed the meeting by asking Marie whether she went to a therapist or got any help for herself. Marie said she didn't have time for that, since she attended physiotherapy and she has no money because insurance does not cover such services. Nadia asked if we had paid her for a few sessions of therapy, she would have went. My head would have turned to Nadia so quickly that I thought I would have a whiplash injury, but she kicked me under the table, making it clear that everything was under control. Marie's lawyer immediately said that Marie would only go to a psychotherapist of her choice, regardless of who paid. Nadia nodded and said that psychotherapy could help her cope with her emotions and become a better mother in the future. I also thought that Nadia was crazy proposing this, but I decided to let her talk further. Marie's lawyer said that they would discuss it and give us an answer later. Nadia said that despite the fact that she confronts them as a lawyer, as a woman, she wants to all the women in the cases she deals with receive the necessary help. I will not lie, she said it this way convincingly that I thought for a second that my own lawyer had decided to betray me. Marie offered a family counseling for all of us. This time I pushed Nadia under the table, showing that I would not agree to it for anything. Nadia pushed me back and said that if Marie attends several therapy sessions and her psychologist thinks that the family therapy would be helpful, then we might agree. I knew Nadia had a reason for such suggestions. It's a pity that she didn't tell me in advance. I knew that later I would find out what tactics she was using, but so far I asked Marie if all this cheap, meaningless association with strangers was worth the fact that she was now. I really wanted to know if there was a feeling that being a whore for a few years was worth it. I pointed out that She clearly liked it, otherwise she wouldn't have continued. I really wanted to know if it was worth the loss of a loving husband and custody of the children. Marie began to cry, and her tears this time looked sincere before she told me that I did not. I asked if she felt shame. I knew she felt a lot of regrets, if only because she was caught, but I wanted to find out if she feels ashamed that her family now knows the truth. She said she is very ashamed, especially now that her family knows about everything. I asked if she thought she could hide the truth from her family forever. She replied that she hoped she could hide it at least until she went back to work and found a place to live, but she knew that the truth will come out sooner or later. She apologized for hurting me and said that she never wanted to do it. I told her that she didn't hurt me, but destroyed me, that every day, every damn day, I feel this pain. Pain in my soul, but I feel its joints and muscles, but alas, no ibuprofen brings relief. My heart is so broken that when she poisoned my soul, it spread to my body. In the best days I only feel numbness, on the worst days tension fills my body, and sometimes depression causes physical pain. I wake up feeling broken. She cried, listening to her actions make me suffer. I asked her to answer what I had ever done that could justify her cruelty. Betrayal. She only burst into tears. I asked her what she thought she deserved from me and from life after. What she did, not what she wants, but what she thinks is fair for someone who literally fucked up his life and heard only tears. But I was tired of tears and lack of answers. I was fed up. The meeting ended with the fact that lawyer Marie. I tried to get her out of the office, while she continued to ask me for forgiveness. I told her to go home anywhere, because we were done. When they finally left, I demanded an explanation from Nadia why she offered to pay for a psychotherapist for Maria. She explained that this would be regarded by the court as a favorable step with. It was also obvious that Marie was already on the verge if a professional offered or did not stand on what she. You will need to go to the hospital for her own good. Well, it's very easy for him to be depressed. Going to the clinic for at least one night, allowing her to see a therapist could help us if they would see in what state she has been deceiving me for more than 6 years. I don't feel guilty for hiding mine real intentions as to why I really want her to meet with the brainwasher. If Nadia thinks that the possibility of family psychotherapy will make her go to a psychologist, so be it. Marie is good at. I hope this will continue. Yes, I understand that this update cannot be called short, but I tried to make it as compressed as possible. The kids feel good. Michael plays baseball and became a pitcher since he's the tallest in his team. He's great at serving and batting. Next week we're going to play between Red Sox and Tigers, along with Dugo and his 2 sons. Miss Carrie is still as beautiful and sweet as ever. She is very like the pool, and it was great to host friends with their children to enjoy it together. I want raise 2 children who will be too busy with life to stick their noses on the phone. Perhaps they will do it not like everyone else, and they will feel like strangers in society, but they will be my strange children. Huge thank you all for your kind words and support. Every day now brings new challenges, but the realization that there is so much behind me. People who support means more than I can put into words. Peace. Everyone. The final update in a year. A few weeks ago I decided again go to my account that I didn't log in for almost a year. There were a lot of messages and comments with questions about how things are going for the children and me, how it all ended. At first I wanted to ignore it all, get out of it account and never log in again, because I was finally able to return to normal life and fix everything for myself and children. And the return to the past only prevents you from moving forward, but the advice that I received from you while on day gave me great support and were very useful from the very beginning of this story. Gratitude to those kind people. To the people who have done all this for me, I am writing this last update, because I really owe a lot to those who helped me get through the minefield, the existence of which I did not even suspect at the time. So much time has passed since of my last post that most readers have surely forgotten about my story by now, and this is understandable. This post also will be long, and for that again I apologize, but a lot of time has passed since then, and a lot of things have happened. which cannot be explained in 2 or 3 paragraphs, because it all ended much more globally than I could. So we settled on the fact that I was in the process of legally adopting Carrie. After the court ruled that I was not her biological father, my lawyer Nadia tried to persuade Marie to contact a psychotherapist of her choice in the hope that it would help me benefit. Nadia recommended to a lawyer Marie 2 local psychiatric centers, saying that we will pay for the sessions, or Marie can choose any other specialist to whom she would want to turn. I had serious doubts that I should have paid for her sessions. Or do anything that can help her. If you are not extracted, then take at least on. Armament is the only advice that will really come in handy for you, whether you love lawyers or hate them, but always listen to your lawyer so as not to go into details. I will say briefly, Maria chose a local psychiatrist who immediately realized that she was mentally unstable. For her own good, he put Maria in the local psychiatric hospital for the night under observation. This night turned into several months in different psychiatric hospitals due to confidentiality in the medical field. I will never know her exact diagnosis, but her lawyer said that every time he saw Marie, she was heavily sedated and not at all in herself. The months that Marie spent trying on designer straitjackets delayed the finalization of the divorce and however, since Maria did not contest the divorce and her lawyer could represent her interests, it hasn't slowed down in any way by my adoption Carrie. Despite all the pain I've been through recently listening to the answers, Carrie was incredibly happy when I asked the judge. Carrie did not know that she was once declared not my daughter, in my opinion. So she was amused when the judge asked if she wanted me to be her dad, and I was so proud of her though. She didn't understand why. She was just happy when I said I loved her and hugged me for the first time as her adoptive father. I was glad that Michael was there too, but I was even more thankful that Marie wasn't there. Neither Michael nor Carrie really didn't understand what was going on at the hearing, but now Carrie is officially my daughter, even if we don't share DNA. When I saw Marie's betrayal, all feelings for the name disappeared until I could reunite with Carrie. I was terribly afraid that because of her mother's act, I will love her or begin to hate her. To feel again the love that I have always felt for her was such a relief. I would not be wrong if I could not overcome it, no matter how one thinks. If in the legal system, paternity is so important that a man is forced to pay for a child who it should have the same meaning when a man wants to abandon a child who does not. However, alas, it is often much more difficult to refuse, but damn it, I really needed it. Carrie is in my life and I've already lost too much, and she needed a father who loved her all her life. To be honest, there will always be a small part of my soul inside me that will be broken because it is not my biological daughter. It is impossible to express in words how destructive this awareness and acceptance was. I know that I am doing the best I can. As a parent in this situation, I believe that the time and love that we give to children is much more important than any material possessions. It will always be my priority. Apart from Marie's mental problems, there was not a single reason why divorce should have been completed. She did not receive a penny from me, and even her own lawyer admitted that in her situation there is no chance of getting custody at the moment. If and when she comes out of her paradise room, if she finds a safe place to live, she will be able to sue for any right to visitation with the children or custody of the court. Appointed a legal assistant to confirm that Marie was aware of her actions. Her lawyer forced her to. I had to sign the divorce documents in the presence of witnesses and notarize them a week later. Appear in court with Nadia so that the lawyers can close the remaining issues in front of the judge. 2 weeks later I officially divorced with the biggest mistake and waste of my life. I should have been happy about it. And I really was. Signing the papers was a symbolic nail in the coffin of our marriage, but for some reason this moment is narrower. Not with NS, I was as relieved as I expected by how firmly Marie's family held on my position on retracting it after they have learned the whole truth. I am sure that it will partially. It was due to their desire to stay on good terms with me in order to be able to see the children. Although her parents and sister knew that Marie was in the psychiatric ward, they did not even try to visit her, as of course I did, but it was obvious from our conversations with her parents how shocked and They were ashamed of their daughter's actions, that people now knew what their daughter was like. I could understand them, and even because of the survival through itself, there is a greater amount of moisture than a garden hose in. Hot July caused me to be very ashamed of the intimacy with her. Mean Di made sure that everyone knew about what she was doing. Sister and Rebecca, although she certainly did not talk about the fake paternity through social networks and personal conversations with so. Rumors spread among acquaintances, and a month later almost everyone knew about many years of infidelity and moral decline. Maria, they were all determined to make a scandal for her. If they ever met her, it was for me. Somewhat humiliating, as everyone has learned how foolishly gullible I have been, but end up in a relationship with either trust or not, and she never gave me a single reason not to trust her. Only a few months before her catch, I began to somehow suspect that she might be cheating. Now, looking back, I see that I missed a few alarm signals, but she skillfully rushed to stop her girlish parties when the depression went away just out of principle, but the night she didn't come home was the only time she did. Happened usually she called if she was at least 15 minutes late, which happened extremely rarely. Then I really worried because it wasn't like her at all, and I wanted to make sure she was okay. I know many people may consider me an idiot or a blind man for not suspecting anything for so long, but since she left everything exclusively at the level of intimacy and the number of meetings with each man was limited, then left no traces to keep track of. She wasn't tethered to her phone or hiding it, so I didn't have desire to check her. She imagined herself as a loving wife and mother. Many friends told me personally that they were shocked to learn about her infidelity and assured that they would have told me if they found out. They had no idea, and neither did I if Marie wore a dress without underwear on a windy day and everyone within a radius of 12 m could see it. Everything would be obvious to me and for everyone else, but everything that she was for everyone was a complete lie in the end. No one wanted to have nothing to do with her, and no one cares about her future, even if he keeps her in a mental hospital for the rest of her life. The only problem with the fact that no one kept in touch with Marie was that we were caught off guard. No one did not say when it was issued. The laws did not allow the hospital to provide us with this information due to confidentiality. Between the doctor and the patient, I don't know if she convinced the doctor that she was okay or if they just decided that did everything possible for her, but she was discharged at noon on Tuesday. Somehow she got from the hospital to her car that was parked outside her lawyer's office, and from there she drove to the children at school when she was told that she can't see or pick up the children. She didn't make a frail scene so that the school administration would call me. I told them to call the police and promised to come as soon as possible. On the way to the car, I called Mendy to inform that her younger sister no longer lives in a rental house on the island of madness. I told her I didn't know whether she was released or she ran away, but I'll find out when I get to school. Mendy said she would call her parents. My parents and Duck, to keep them informed of what was happening, were already standing at the entrance when I arrived. Car and ambulance with flashing lights on. I parked, got out and went to the nearest officer. Introducing myself as an ex-husband, I was directed through a side door to the school cafeteria. I was relieved to find out that Michael and Carrie were unaware of what was happening in the waiting room, and school classes were not interrupted. The police sat Marie at a table in the dining room, and when she saw me, she tried to get up, demanding to see the children. She was kept from approaching me, and I asked if they checked in the psychiatric department. Did the police release her? Said that the hospital did not can provide certain information without a warrant, but it was written out. Marie began to cry and demand to see the children. I told the policeman that I had full custody, and in such an emotionally unstable state, I did not. For which I will not allow her to see them. She shouted again that she wanted to see the children. I replied that she needed to submit documents through a lawyer to obtain the right to a visit, but until I see an assessment of the state of her mental from the specialist, I will consider her unsuitable for parenthood. A maniacal mother. She said that children are the only people who still love her. I said that's probably true, but they're just kids and not yet understand what's what. The policeman laughed, but quickly pulled himself together. Marie tried to come up to me, but her She said that she had not seen the children for several months and that only thoughts about them helped her survive her stay-in. I explained to the country of lobotomy that I don't care about her difficulties and the consequences of her own actions, but I will never. Exposing our children to her lies and drama, I asked a police officer to help me apply for a restraining order to. Marie stayed away from me and the children. He agreed to file a preliminary application on my behalf but explained that. He then explained to Marie that since I would not allow her to see the children, she needed to immediately leave the school grounds and not return until she presents a court order for partial custody with. To my surprise, she did not make an even bigger scandal. Apparently she realized that. She grabbed her bag and keys and followed the officer to. Got in the car and drove away, and I, together with another policeman, filled out an application for a warrant. And talked to the headmaster as well. When school was over, I picked up Michael and Carrie, and we drove home in about a couple of kilos of me. After we drove away from the school, I noticed that Marie left the fast food restaurant right after. As we passed by, I immediately turned the nearest turn, made a couple more turns to be back on the same street ahead. I saw her car and sped up to understand what she was doing. She didn't even notice that I was behind. It was obvious that she was looking for someone and that someone was us. The children didn't even recognize her car, fortunately one. The commenter advised me to install the front and rear cameras with audio recording in the car. They gave me the video recordings necessary to prove that Marie had been following me and the children despite police warnings to hold on. I drove straight to the police station and showed them the footage from the cameras, which shows that Marie is waiting for us to pass by. And then he goes after us, but loses sight of us. I was assured that the evidence would be handed over to the judge and that I would receive restraining order in the near future. 2 days later, when I was at work, I received a call from the police and was informed that the warrant was issued and handed over in the morning to Maria. Now she had to keep a distance of at least 200 m from me and children at any time. She was forbidden to contact me and the children in any way, except through her lawyer. I was told to contact the police immediately if she violated the warrant. I was somewhat relieved to know that the law was not. But I expected her to try to break the warrant and contact me or the children. To my surprise from Marie, no one heard a word. Her sister said she didn't try to contact her or their parents. I was sure that she would try to find free legal help to apply for partial custody, but with Nadia, no one contacted. It's been 2 months and to be honest, the longer we haven't heard anything from her, the more stressful it was. But about 3 months ago, when I returned home, there was a large envelope made of thick paper in the mail. The address was handwritten and the return address was listed as Sydney, Australia. The stamps were Australian. I couldn't even imagine who could have sent me this envelope and why. There was an extremely long letter from Maria inside, with which she explained where he was and assured that he would not come back. I was. Her stunned words, the diabolical logic that allowed her to sleep peacefully at night, struck me even more than she did. The manic message filled in many of the gaps in what she had been through and what had brought her to this state. Wrote that she almost had a nervous breakdown during the first psychotherapy for the first 2 months in a psychiatric clinic. She was heavily sedated and on various antidepressants and antipsychotics. She said that all this time she just wanted to go to the forefathers through therapy and group discussions. She tried to understand why she acted the way she did. She told me that other patients during the discussions looked at she was like a complete idiot for ruining everything. They had broken families, cruel relationships, various foolishness and violence. Her life was much easier compared to their suffering. When she finally realized how much she ruined everything and that her old life would not return, she had another breakdown. The first breakdown was because she faced the past. Second, because she saw her future, or rather the lack of it. Then she continued to talk about her feelings of loss and heartache in some pathetic attempt to evoke sympathy. Maria had the audacity to claim that that morning when I caught her cheating on her, upset that I immediately stopped loving her forever. She claimed that for all these years, when she was overwhelmed by a sense of guilt for what she did, she justified herself by saying that I would not. I loved her if I knew everything, and she wanted me to love her always, under any circumstances, just unconditionally. She was right. Love for her disappeared instantly as soon as I saw her voice with another man. She wrote that. The realization that I didn't love her anymore broke her heart, because no matter what she did, she still didn't love me. Loved, she swore that intimacy with other men did not mean that she loved me less. I wonder how she would have treated with me. If she hated me, she had the audacity to call me her best friend and soulmate. She claimed that she did not. I wanted no romantic relationships with anyone but me. She felt real excitement when men directly said that. Want to tear her off properly. She was thrilled to enjoy it without thinking about any consequences, just indulging in primal instincts. She confessed that after a few infidelities, Rebecca's friend convinced her that humans never were intended for monogamy. Marie said she would be more than willing to let me sleep with other women. But I knew that I would never want this. She claimed that the opportunity to sleep with someone in the store and then come back home to cook dinner made her life less hopeless and boring. She tried to justify her actions by that I allegedly benefited too from her sleeping with other men because it made her the best for me. Mistress, but a completely dead intimate life would suit me much more than a wife who behaves like another cheap girl with a tattoo knot and an arrow down. And what normal man would even climb up to a woman who is so easy to give? These men are just as cheap. You can call me old-fashioned, and I'm sure many who read my story, they called me even worse. But if a lady feels the need to explore her intimacy to be a wild cat, this is her choice. She has every right to do so. It seems that today few people do not live exactly so, but the time for such explorations and casual connections should be long before you have children. It should happen much earlier than you get married, and it certainly shouldn't get to the point where you cheat on your husband with so many men that she gives birth to a child from some stranger and tell your husband that this. If your search has turned you into someone that even the most desperate guy won't want to take as a wife, so be it. If, at any stage of our relationship, Marie told me that she needed to break up so that she could have sex with strangers, I would be completely fine with this. Yes, it would show me that she has no morals, devotion and honesty, which I still have in Jenna, but at least I could have avoided such huge consequences for me. It would be absolutely indifferent with whom and how many times she had sex if I was not on this list. But Marie, she chose to live in a lie, and now, just like she can't turn her former lovers around and pretend that nothing it was like this, and I can't go back in time and get her words out of my life. Her actions prove that she, and even more so love, in the end it will be the last on the dance floor in some cheap bar somewhere in Australia, ready to do anything for any drunk who still thinks it's attractive. In 15 minutes of communication, she wrote how badly she broke her heart. The news that I had applied to remove my name from Carrie's birth certificate she understood after. I couldn't even look at her, and our daughter was a constant reminder of all this, not yet hers. Hurt that I had applied to adopt Carrie as my daughter, because it showed her that although I could not giving her a second chance in my heart was enough love to give a second chance to the product of her infidelity. She confessed that struggled with feelings of jealousy towards Carrie, the realization that her children would grow up getting everything she did. She took it for granted, and that now she had lost her forever was killing her. Her words clearly showed how much she self-centered. First place, she couldn't even do it for her own children. She wholeheartedly didn't wanted to know that the important moments of her children's lives would pass without her, and presented their photos on social networks as a reminder of what she had lost. It made her feel as if she was being pierced in the heart with a dagger. She said that after she was released from the hospital after that incident at school, she tried to reconnect with her former friends. Some who agreed to talk to her expressed their opinion bluntly, saying that they did not want anything to do with her. Most acted as if they didn't know her and simply ignored her. Some warned her that if ever it turns out that she was with their husband or boyfriend, she will not be well. As a result, she realized that her hometown has become for her a terrible, poisonous place. Her former bosses, many colleagues knew everything, so it was not possible to return to work. Option: the insurance company of the other driver paid her decent sums for damage to her health while she was locked up, but in the end she had to stop going to physiotherapy and the insurance company considered the accident and her injuries closed money. She no longer had to find a job nearby to be able to see the children immediately without. She succeeded, and she had to survive on her own. She laid a few things to somehow make ends meet with. And she started looking for a job on the internet. It was then that she met some guy from Australia on her. They corresponded for several days and he invited her to come to visit. Maria had long been thinking of cashing out his pension account, but was afraid of a huge tax penalty that would have to be paid at the end of the year. Invitation to the Australia was the last straw for her to cash out everything she had. She wrote that he was a very good person and he has a son who needs a mother, a poor child. He got Anna Karenina as a mother, and a father as his wife. Received Amber Heard. It's safe to say that he has no idea what she's done and what she's capable of, but now this is his problem. She will become an Australian citizen. She will not pay taxes in the United States and there will never be my problem again. That was the last message she sent, and hopefully the last I will ever receive from her. I'm even ashamed to be so indifferent, but I sympathize with the citizens of Australia, because now another dangerous species will appear in their ecosystem. Yes, I am happy that she left and I have every right to do so, but Australia, we offer our sincere condolences to ensure her antipsychotic medications and doctors to treat her STDs will require so much money that it can ruin your social system of health wounds. Of course I hope that she is there with you but if it is possible to arrest upon return for tax evasion with a punishment in the form of time spent in federal prison, it will be an even better outcome. My therapist helped me a lot, especially in my work with anger, although you can't tell from this text, during one tense session with a therapist. Inside, for a long time I was much angrier with myself than on Mary. People talk about forgiveness and how it liberates you. I had so much anger inside me that I thought that 100% of that anger was directed at Marie. It turned out that it wasn't her flaws. I kept myself on a higher ethical level. I hated myself for not being able to believe that this was the case. I didn't choose my life partner well. Yes, Marie was a lying whore, but in the end, it was I who chose this whore and ruined myself. Life now, I can say with certainty that it would have been much better if I had never loved Marie. Many asked about Rebecca. It turned out that after Marie was kicked out of her parents' house, she really went to Rebecca. Apparently, my ex decided that Rebecca should at least have provided her with a place to live after she helped the collapse of our marriage. Rebecca believed she hadn't done anything special, just let Maria do what she did. Wanted to do it and did not owe her anything. This is an interesting topic for debate. I don't know which of them won, but this friendship ended in a fight, swearing and pulling out hair, one way or another. Rumors that Rebecca participated in the destruction of my marriage reached others, and hard times came for her. I don't use social networks, but I was told that she lost a lot of followers and friends, her shemmy, or on the network offline too. Stylist left her salon because of what she did. The remaining employees were constantly faced with questions. Clients, how can they continue to work in this salon, or are they also going to leave in a month or two? She does not was able to pay the rent and the salon had to close. The last thing they heard, Rebecca got a hostess in her restaurant brother in Connecticut. When she left town, I wanted to bulldoze her apartment like Forrest Gump tore down the house. Jenny, because of all the dirty sex acts that happened there, but the neighbors in the other two apartments did not like this idea. Many in the comments hinted that there was something between me and my lawyer Nadia. I thought that they were all simple. But it turned out that I, as usual, just don't notice when a woman shows interest after a divorce was completed, and since she did not represent me in a civil lawsuit, which never took place, we went to have a drink with her and a few other colleagues to celebrate the victory as everyone gradually began to disperse. She said she wanted to discuss one more thing with me before I left. I thought she was going to ask me leave a positive review about her company on the website or something like that, but she surprised me by saying that after working on with my work, she truly appreciated how devoted and faithful a husband I was and still am for my children. She admitted that during our communication during the divorce, she began to feel attracted to me, but could not. This to confess since she was my lawyer. She said that it was difficult for her to understand if I felt for her sympathy, since I am obviously not an ordinary person, but she still decided to try. It was very nice to hear, especially after you found out that you were not good enough for your wife so that she would not cheat with a lot of men. Nadia said it long before I gave her a well-deserved bonus, so despite my disbelief, I think she was sincere in hers. She just told me that if I ever wanted to have a drink or talk, I would call her without hesitation. Nadia is a beautiful woman and no one doubts this, except perhaps people with poor eyesight. She is smart, talented. In front of her, it is obvious that she often goes to the courtroom. It is important for lawyers to look good in the courtroom. She dresses stylishly and it's attractive that a polite gentleman like me appreciates at one of the hearings when she came to court in a suit in. It seemed to me that the judge would be ready to give me custody of his own children just because her. I saw, even though I am appreciated, I have to admit that she would be a wonderful choice for any man whom he decides to ask out on a date, but for me, alas, all these efforts are not worth it. I already know that subconsciously I will to judge her for her past, which she definitely does not deserve and that she cannot influence, and, unfortunately, any women to whom I will feel at least the slightest interest in facing the same unfair condemnation. Many men wrote to me. I advise you to go to a dating site and find a random woman for intimacy to overcome the fact that Marie, the only one I've been with. Sorry guys, but I'll never be able to do that. A friend of mine showed me local profiles in Tinder, but it's not my thing. If I wanted to close Gestalt and have a second intimate experience as one of the commenters, I would choose Nadia. I am that Marie took something from me that used to really bring me pleasure and forever crossed out this part from my life. Now even the thoughts of those moments of intimacy disgust me, knowing that she is doing the same things and even more perverted with other men in the eyes of most people in the West society. The fact that I've only been with one woman makes me either too reserved or just a loser, but I feel so dirty, like I'm a Victorian Street, just because I had sex with Maria. She took away everything that made intimacy special to me and made it impossible for me to future, our vows, our union. All this was thrown away so that she could suck the hose off some random guy who wasn't her husband, and then she lied. Oh, how she lied, and that's why for a long time I could not believe a single word of hers. She made me doubt my sanity, my fatherhood, and my power, and in my value. I don't want and won't go back to it. I don't have anyone, but I still live. This proves that there is no woman in the world without whom I could not live, because I am already doing it. I do not experience it at all. Hatred for women and wish them only the best, because one day Carrie will also become a woman, but there is no such thing in the world. A woman who could enrich my life, only complicate it, and in general, now I am not able to trust not only women, but in principle. Everyone around asked how things were going with the search for Carrie's biological father. I have studied many DNA genealogy testing sites. My main problem is that if there is one coincidence, the company will notify the other party as well if Carrie passes a test that reveals a cousin, uncle, or even the father of the self. Her protector doesn't want anyone to come to us. She's a healthy child with no visible genetic defects, so I'll wait with testing my current opinion to wait at least until her teenage years or until she will be 18 years old. I even considered the option of never telling her that I am not her father. If any of you have experience or advice on this, please share. Would it be better not tell her never or wait until adulthood? I don't think about myself. I already know the truth. I'm trying to prepare for any future scenarios, both good and bad. What is the probability that she will need to find out her heredity on my father's side for medical purposes? I understand that DNA testing will not take place in the next few years, taking into account the fact that her mother has only recently passed away. I don't want to do anything that might make Carrie feel less confident in myself or my identity. I rarely think about Marie because I'm too busy with my new life. Without her I don't I want to immerse myself more in the past for more than a couple of days. My children are my whole world and I really love my job, which absorbs me headlong. Salary is just a bonus for the opportunity to do what I like. Australians. If some of you are reading this, I hope I didn't offend anyone. I didn't have such an intention. I'm sorry to be the one who brings bad news for your nation. You don't deserve it any more than I do. Just remember, if she gets drunk, she'll be in a skirt without underwear and decides to do the splits in one of your bars, just rock it back and forth to break vacuum and it will immediately rise. To everyone who took the time to tell this story, thank you and wish you good afternoon or night today. I went to a session with my therapist during lunch. I sent her this post to read, including comments to her. I really liked your advice and your hints at Nadia. She insisted that I move slowly, but be honest with Nadia and with myself, so when I left the session, I called Nadia and asked if I could drop by for her expert opinion on some questions. After I took the children to my grandparents, I stopped by Nadia's company. I don't fumble in these yours pickups because I did without it in the past. I don't know how to flirt. I'm just the way I am. All I have is kindness, humor and sincerity. When Nadia realized that I had no legal issues, she smiled slyly. I said that I thought and talked a lot with my friends. After our conversation with her, I admitted that I was scared as hell. Open up and give her a chance, but I'm also 100% sure to be brave as she's been brave enough to take the first step. I also said that I couldn't imagine how we would do because of our differences. When she saw what differences I mentioned, children and the fact that she does not have them, she said that I liked meeting my children and asked if it bothered me that she didn't have children yet. I didn't have children for this. I said I was a little worried about me being so tall and she was so petite and might accidentally hurt her if I am not at flares. She assured me that she is quite strong and said that big surprises come in small ones. Packages. I was nervous and said that I was not ready for intimacy yet, but I appreciated her offer. She blushed and laughed. At least she understands my strange humor. In general, we both have days off on Friday and Monday, thanks to the holiday, so on Thursday night we drive to dinner at a nice restaurant and then go to a great martini bar that I know is the first step. And although I'm nervous, I'm really comfortable talking to her and being there for us. We'll move slowly, but I can't share it with you, so this will be my last post. If it works out, great. If not, I'm smeek with this. I just don't want anyone to feel like once if something goes wrong. Hope you will all understand me. Thank you all so much for your help in overcoming the hell into which my life has turned, and for support. May each of you know love, success, and most importantly peace. Bless you, God. Well, here we are, updated the record for the longest vid on an obese toad. Be sure to write your opinion about this story. And now to my opinion. To the guy, of course, very much unlucky, but I'm sure all this could have been noticed much earlier. Cool, of course, that he trusted his wife so much, but such trust, in my opinion, is already a man to allow her to wander around on all sorts of dubious matters, and at this time he himself sitting with children is somehow very, very strange, especially when you don't do it yourself. I don't understand at all where you got mother can find so much time wandering around all sorts of clubs. After all, I am a father myself and I understand how much time is taken children. And when your wife comes from the club drunk, for some reason, this does not raise questions for the author, the problem of their union. As I see it in the fact that for the author, this closeness of his is completely organic to him, his wife is complete. The opposite is such an obvious extrovert, who, apparently, was suppressed somehow in childhood, and here she is still. I got married and swam. She felt freedom and decided that it was time to completely to open up, to go all out, and in such an unsightly way she decided to open up. But this is life. It happens that men who are raising a child who is not their own are no longer uncommon, especially in Western countries, for example, in Britain. For example, a quarter of all men raise someone else's child, and these are only those cases when these men know about it. In general, thank you for watching this long video. Write your thoughts in the comments. See our previous video that you will see here. Subscribe to our channel so as not to miss a future video of this kind. Well, and good luck to you with your music relations.